What is up, everybody? I think we're live now. I hope we're live.
Yeah, that's we're never really sure. Well, I was on a bit of a rush, you see, because I had to get back from golfing, and you're like 8, and I'm like, I think I can make 8.
Yeah.
But I didn't really have time to actually get dinner, so instead, I have this.
You made a charcuterie board?
A crappy one. Yeah, there's some apple slices, some cheese, and some hot salami. And I also established that my new favorite cookie are these things.
Oh yeah, those are legit.
I had no idea. I don't think they make them in the States, but it's like a butter cookie. But the problem with a butter cookie is that it's too dry. It's too dry. But the caramel and the chocolate just like
balance.
Yeah, it balances it. It makes them pretty delicious.
I like it.
But the reason I thought I was going to be late is I wanted to have a shower after coming back from golf before I'm, presented to the world, I suppose. But when I was in there, like, I was thinking about something a friend told me, who said that, like, she was surveying people, and the majority of people don't seem to say that they bother scrubbing their legs in the shower. And 20 seconds. It was not a long experience. So I don't know how there are so many people who are just like, you know what? I can't do it. It's too much of a time commitment. I can't handle it.
I have never heard that as a real thing. I don't understand who wouldn't scrub their legs in the shower. You're already there.
I might have been late by 20 seconds.
Well, here we are, kicking off the 2020 season. Should I try to do the theme song? I don't know if this is going to work live.
You can try it.
Can you hear it?
No. Oh, yeah, poorly.
I still love the theme song.
Yeah, but it's really awkward when we're just being stared at. You need video with it.
I know. We'll let it run through.
Everyone just listen to a theme song while I'm going to need apple slices.
All right. You know what I need to do? Like, I need to do like a video version and have that run as the beginning, because this is how we're going to do the podcast now. So it would be nice to have a proper theme song, but hey, we're just kicking it off. So in order to do it properly, I've got my glass full of ice. I've got my gigantic bottle of whiskey. So this is how we're going to do it.
Becoming a thing now. We're just drinking every time we record a podcast.
Well, I mean, before we did it sometimes at work.
Most of the time we did it at work, actually. So
I don't think we need to be drinking every time, but today I went to the zoo for the first time took my son to the zoo for the first time, which in my mind was going to be this magical experience where he sees these animals for the first time and it's going to like change his life and he's going to be so excited. A little bit of that, but a lot more of it is a long day. It is a hot day. There's a lot of walking and there's a cranky kid. And by the end, holy shit, I've never been so aggravated and just desperate to leave a place in my life, and hence the drinking. I wasn't going to be drinking, but I need it today. I need it today.
Did you at least stay out of the Canadian exhibit? Because that's what the smart thing is. The rest of the zoo is on a circle, and then the Canadian exhibit is down some giant fucking hill. Yeah. That's a big dead end. So we're familiar with all the animals around the world except what is apparently native to our country.
Yeah, like the Canadian exhibit's like, oh, you want to go see a moose? I'm like, I've seen moose in like the wild. Why would
I have not? I would love to see a moose, but I'm not willing to go that far down a hill to see them.
Yeah, we're just like, no, fuck that. The rest of it, I mean, I haven't been since I was literally like 7 years old to the zoo, so I'm sure it has changed a bit since. It was nice, but it was just, my God.
Did you smell the corpse flower?
The what?
It's a big thing at the zoo. So apparently the zoo actually has more like plants from around the world and a better collection of those than it does animals. And one of the plants it has is called the corpse flower or corpse plant or something. But it blooms like for only a couple of days per year. And it's blooming this weekend. And
really?
It's a big attraction, even though for some reason it's an attraction for a flower that when it blooms smells like death. That's why it's called the corpse flower.
Really?
Yeah, so if you didn't smell it, then you missed out, I guess.
Yeah, unlucky me, I guess.
Yeah, so I guess at some point we should actually talk about football.
Well, I want to confirm that people can actually see the broadcast. I'm assuming
someone want to say if they can see this, because otherwise it's just Jam and I talking to each other.
which is fine. I mean, I'll do that. But
Oh goddamn, this was a terrible choice of cheese.
what cheese did you get?
I don't know, some British thing that the sign said went well with wine.
Well,
I don't like
know.
it. I don't like it.
See, I'm on the Facebook page and I don't see it, but we are live. Like, we're definitely live right now.
We've been live for 5 minutes, but no one can see us. Live to nothing.
Let's see. New. Yeah, I see it. It looks like it's there.
So either no one is watching and no one cares
it's there.
when we asked to see if this was working or not.
It's there. It's live. I can see it.
All right, so basically I'm just talking to you in a video chat. That's
there
live.
you go. See?
Doug
says he could see it.
All right, so we have Doug watching us chat about random zoo crap. All right.
Well, I am like what I wanted to explain to everybody. It's different from last year. Is obviously last year we were doing this as me and Phil sitting in a room, which is totally not allowed these days. But we probably will do that.
We have been in a room together at this point.
I'm just saying, like, since then we did the draft podcast, and I found this platform which makes it really easy to do these types of things. So I am looking to do this, want to do the podcast this year in this format. So it'll more often than not be live, but we will also still post the full podcast to the Facebook page, to the YouTube page, and also as an audio file. So people who have listened to the podcast the way that they traditionally did will be able to do so in this season. Other change for this season is we'll be talking about 2 leagues like we did with the draft podcast. Used to be just a pure. We're keeping the FOMFA name because that's established at this point, Phil. I mean, it's copyrighted. But we are going to be jumping in on the about both leagues because we have a couple owners that are shared, and also it's all football talk and it's all fantasy related, relevant conversation. I think just some people are going to have different players in different leagues, and depending on how I'm doing in one league or the other, I'll probably focus the conversation in that way.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have the sense that I think it's pretty well established that in FOMFA, I am going to do well. If I don't at least make the playoffs, something has gone horribly wrong. But in the other league, I don't trust my projections at all. I don't know why I think my team is going to be so good. I am very skeptical of what's going to happen.
Well, you're not the only one.
Yeah, I know. So we'll see what happens there. But your team looks pretty good to me. Your team is rated well by my formulas. But when I just gut feeling, it also looks pretty good.
Well, the problem is for that league right now is, I mean, I think we've touched on this in the chat with both leagues, actually, is that the valuations just went fucking bananas in the Ben Wyatt auction. Like, players, like, what was our highest salary? CMC at $47 million, I think?
49, I think. 49. I think it was 49, and Saquon was 44. But
it was like you couldn't get a top-tier running back for less than $30 million. Like you needed to be in the 30 million range, and you need, if you want 2 of those, then you're looking at a good solid 50 million of your 200 on. And I guess that's one of the point also to be made is that the salary cap is higher than in FOMFA and the Ben Wyatt league, so you could expect valuations to be a bit higher. But I was very surprised. Everything that I planned through went out the window like within the first 5 hours of the auction.
Yeah,
all these targets that I set, because normally in the FOMFA auction, I set targets very realistically. I know the prices that I'm going for, and I usually get them. Like, it's not like I have to really change my plans midstream too often. At least my top targets I get. But Ben White, it just went out the window. Like,
I think people did definitely overspend what they should have for players. The reason I think that is, yes, the salary cap is higher than in the other league. But at the same time, that's relatively offset by the fact that in the other league, we have years of rookies and people being underpaid. So when you have that, you have guys who have like a market value of like 20 million who have a contract on your team for 5, which frees up 15 million of space that you wouldn't have in BWAFF. That sounds terrible to say. Can we think of a better way to
BWAFF? I'm just calling it
BWAFF.
BWAFF. We'll give that to Ryan.
But really, I expected the prices to be pretty similar. And where they most went out of line, I don't even think. Like, people are talking CMC, Saquon a little high, yeah. I mean, you compare him to, you could have had Zeke for 30 or Saquon for 44. That's you clearly pick Zeke in that situation. And And yeah, well, CMC is high. He just like destroyed everyone last year. It wasn't even really close. So.
And that's not really changing this year. If anything, the Panthers are going to be more reliant on him than they were last year, where like they've kind of gone into this mode where he is going to be like the be all and end all of that offense. And I think like also what was impacting things is the way that the auction was done, in that you only could have 100 nominations at a time. Each team, I think, can only put up 8 at a time, right? Something like that. Because I started
with 8 of 12 now, but
yeah. So I think because of that, like a lot of people who are, and I'm guilty of this too, is when you start to see the auctions go up and these players are on the board, you're just like, well, I better bid up because I need a linebacker. I better bid this player because I need a defensive end. Not really thinking that there's a bunch of players that have not entered the auction yet. So I think initially there was a lot of going up in value. When you couldn't see other players.
And this should have been obvious. Like it was to me, and I was telling everyone in the chat, like there's a lot of money out right now. There's still good players to come, et cetera, et cetera. But interestingly, it depended on the position. And I think this is why the running backs went so high.
Yeah.
Because I had to pay like $5 million for people who are like, you might get a carry. I'm really hoping for it. But on the other side of things, there are people who pay like 10, 12 million for defensive ends when you could get similarly ranked defensive ends for $4 or $5 million later. Yeah. So they just threw an extra like $5 to $7 million out the window just because they were like, I want a star and I'm going to bid on this early. And everyone was bidding up everyone early. So
yeah. I think definitely the running backs was that situation where within that 48 hours, it was like, okay, I actually really gotta, if I want a star caliber or starting caliber running back, I'm gonna have to blow a good chunk of my and change all my plans and blow a good chunk of my salary cap to make sure I secure starting caliber running backs.
You getting Aaron Jones for that was a goddamn coup.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I got Aaron Jones in that. Like at the end of the day, after seeing what everybody else went for, I think I just snuck in that sweet spot where people had high top bids on other running backs, and Aaron Jones just kind of sat there and then went by. I got him at 22 million, and then the rest of them, like even after that, were blowing up. Like what did Miles Sanders end up going for? Like 26?
No, more than that.
28.7. 28.7. That's insane.
So, speaking of Miles Sanders, I have a rant for everyone.
Yes, let's go. Let's get our birds rant. Is it the birds rant?
Philadelphia players for no fucking reason. I am a fan who knows this team intricately and will overspend on players just to get Philly players here. Miles Sanders, it's like, okay, fine. Everyone is overspending on running backs. I get it. Whatever. What did Zach Ertz end up going for? Do you know?
Zach Ertz, somewhere in the 15 mil rank level. Let me check. Who got Zach Ertz? Do you remember offhand?
No, not offhand. But I know you got Carson Wentz.
I got Carson Wentz at 12 or something.
You could get similar QBs less than that. I mean,
12.05. Yeah, that's what I got.
It's getting to the point now where it's just getting irritating because Darius Slay. Let me talk about him for a second. And then I'm going to move on to another ridiculous Eagle. But Darius Slay in 2017 made 8 interceptions. That was the last time he was fantasy relevant. He did nothing in 2018. He did nothing in 2019. And he's not likely to do anything again this year. I was bidding on him as some sort of low-end guy just so I could root for an Eagle. Then some dingus comes and pushes me up to like 1.2. I'm like, you know what? Fine, I could do it. I just want an Eagle to root for. I can do it. And now it's up at like 1. It's even higher. It's like 1.4, 1.5 or something. Now, I don't think a lot of the people in this league necessarily know what I call sort of like the quarterback dilemma of fantasy football.
Yeah.
As soon as a cornerback establishes themselves as a good corner, like Slade did in 2017, and there's no doubt he's an amazing corner. I'm super excited as an Eagles fan to have him.
Yeah.
Your fantasy value drops to basically nil. Yeah. Because all that happens is in 2017, he wasn't really known as a good corner, and he was getting thrown at a lot, resulting in 8 interceptions because he was better than people were giving him credit for. Yeah. As soon as he gets credit, people stop throwing in his direction. This happens to pretty much every corner like every good corner in the NFL. You could see where it became clear that they were known as like an elite corner, and their stats drop off. Not because they're not doing a good job, but because there's no fantasy stats relevant to the QB's not going to throw over there anymore. So you can have him play. I don't care. He's not worth the money. I just wanted an Eagle. Enjoy. The next Eagle on my list, I was like, you know what? I need one more wide receiver. There's no one. I just want someone super cheap.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Sega on this one. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, I believe.
You bid up JJ Arcega-Whiteside? I haven't even looked at the bids in a while. I didn't realize he was on the list.
Yeah, I put him on just as like, let's get him for a minimum contract. I even put him a little more than minimum because I was like, I want an Eagle. And then someone outbid me. He's up to $1 million at this point.
Oh, my God.
This is a player who last year barely saw the field because of nothing. The Eagles had everyone was injured. Practice squad people were getting to see the field ahead of him. And even when he saw the field, he got plenty of snaps, surprisingly, and just never got a pass. Because anytime he did get one, he would drop it, or he would just he was terrible last year. Maybe he takes a step up. I'd love for him to take a step up. But it was honestly one of the worst rookie debuts for a receiver I've seen in a long time. And I know most Philly fans have just basically already written them off.
Well, Philly fans and the organization, because in the draft they went after Jalen Reagor, but then also drafted 2 other receivers.
They basically decided this guy sucks.
Yeah, because I was thinking about this for wide receiver depth. I'm like, I guess maybe he'd be a cheap option to go for. And then I started doing my research and reading up because I'm not looking at it because I'm clearly the bigger Eagles fans. I've got Carson Wentz, I've got Jalen Hurts, and I've got Deshaun Watson all on my team. so clearly I've got a lot of Eagles to root for when you have 0.
Name the stadium they played at before the link.
The original link. So I'm just saying, based on my experience with the league, but I started doing my research and basically like the expert consensus is like, don't bother with this guy. He's probably not going to get any real value unless like he has some game where he breaks out or something. But like the organization seems to be going in a different direction.
The Eagles are much like the 49ers, and they're sort of a team that's the sum of their parts. In fantasy, they're not particularly useful. You might get a player or two that can be helpful, but it's not like going to be like a juggernaut like Casey or something. There's a bunch of fantasy relevant players. You get like Wentz is going to throw to a bunch of different guys in a game. You'll get the tight ends who might be relevant. Sanders will be fine. But like it is a lot of different targets they'll see. So I don't know. That's just my rant. I don't know why everyone's putting me up on Eagles and refusing to let me have them at even high prices, and then they get outrageous, and I'm just like, fuck it. I'm not dealing with this anymore. Yeah,
Sega's up to like Darius Slay is up to 1.45.
Yeah, and there's a million corners still available that you could get for like minimum salary. Like the thing about corners is replacement level at cornerback is around 90 points. The scoring is the same for cornerbacks as it was in FOMFA. And you can pick up someone in free agency who will get about 90 points on the season. Even the best corners, like outside of like a few who just have outrageous seasons that you can't even predict, you might be able to predict getting like 110, 120 points out of these guys. So it's really just get a guy that you want to root for and go for it. But why would you spend money on it? I don't get it. But
well, it's the same issue where and like you said, if you end up bidding and getting a corner that is going to score a lot of points, that's based on last year's production, and they might not go that direction for the same reason that like it's like in FOMFA, Jalen Ramsey ended up becoming a trade chip, like a salary dump.
Yeah,
one of the best corners in the game, but he was like not getting any points because who's throwing in that direction consistently. So he doesn't even have the opportunity to get the points. And I kind of learned that one the hard way when I got lucky with Kyle Fuller in FOMFA, and he did pretty well for me. And but again, that could happen this year. That he's had 2 seasons in a row now where he's been a pretty successful fantasy corner. This could be the year where they're just like, we're not throwing in that direction anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking up Kyle Fuller here. Yeah, this is exactly what I thought. Like, I went to Pro Football Focus, and I've got a lot of issues with their ranking sometimes. But to just give a sense of how he graded out as a cornerback, he did not grade well. Not at all.
Well, who's the other corner on the team?
I don't remember. This is where Ryan could chip in if he was paying attention. But the point here is, like, he was second in the league in tackles. He gets interceptions. But guess what? He was 5th in the entire league in being targeted and 4th in the league in receptions allowed. He is not a good corner, which is exactly what makes him an ideal corner for fantasy football.
Yeah.
As long as the Bears are willing to keep throwing him out there to cover people, specifically as their number 1 corner, I believe, people are going to pick on him all day, and he's going to be great for fantasy. Yeah. But the corners who are actually talented, they are not going to be good for fantasy whatsoever.
Yeah, and that ends up becoming kind of like I think Stephon Gilmore went for pretty high in Ben Wyatt, and I kind of had the same thinking there. It was like, that's a corner that had a very good year. Likely doesn't relate, but in Ben Wyatt, corners are required. So, like, I would not have gone for any corners, but you kind of made that
set it up this way just to punish myself, because in the other league, I never have corners. I'm always just safeties, all about safeties. So I was like, you know what? Let's throw some corners in there.
Yeah.
But so the one thing I managed to have time to do, apparently I couldn't make dinner, but I could do some quick data analysis that I wanted to do before the podcast.
All right.
I summed up all the players who have signed and are currently being auctioned, and sorted it by the team that the player is on, as well as the position, to see how much money we've spent on every position, how much money we've spent on every team, et cetera, et cetera. So it should come as no surprise to anyone that the top position is running backs, where we have spent combined $886 million. Now, second, you're also not going to be a surprise, but what's a little surprising is how close it is to running backs. That said, we have to start more wide receivers than running backs. So, it's clear they're getting paid less, but wide receivers have $863 million.
Yeah.
What would you guess is the third highest paid position?
Third highest paid position, tight end.
Tight end is 4th.
4th, okay. I was just basing that on the top 4 tight ends. So Jack Ertz went for $15 million to this guy's team, I believe.
This guy?
To Patrick.
Oh.
So third?
Yeah. You're putting way too much thought in this. It's
QB? It's got to be QB, yeah.
Quarterbacks is third with $328 million. Last and second last are defensive coordinators and offensive coordinators, thankfully.
Yeah.
I see people, this is another place where I see people overpaying, I think, a lot. Because head coaches, it's going to be interesting, because if Harbaugh, if Reed, if anyone like that has the season they just had, their value is going to be over $20 million. And no one got anywhere near that, just because they are able to achieve something like 200 and something points as they win a bunch of games, and you get points for all those wins. Whereas the other coaches, on average, you're getting something like 70, 80 points on a season. So that discrepancy of 120 points is worth a hell of a lot, but people didn't pay for it. I mean, you got a good coach. I got a good coach. I don't know who got Andy Reid. But the only risk is really that this team, one of these teams falls off a cliff.
Yeah.
But if they don't, these are some of the best values in the league, I think.
And also the interesting thing with those too is usually when I plan my teams, I'm like, I have to plan for injury potential depth, and you don't have to worry about that with coaches. You're just worrying about your bye week cover. And I remember like I got Harbaugh pretty early, like probably the second coach that went off the board. At like 7.5 million, which seemed like a lot compared to what coaches would get. But if you look at what he scored last year, it was 250 points. Like that's
exactly. He's worth a ton. But the coordinators, it doesn't fucking matter how badly the team. Well, it matters how badly they lose, but like they're getting points regardless. It's not like something. They're always getting you some sort of points. Even in a best case scenario, they're not getting too many points. Let's say, maybe I'm wrong on this, but let's say a team scores 48 points, which is, a very impressive showing. That's worth 14.4 points approximately, assuming your offense scores like 100.
Mhm.
So even if a team goes crazy and gets 48, you're getting 14.4 points. Head coach, if the team gets 48 and say the other team scores like 14, 20 or something, that's worth 25 points there.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that people have at least gotten that head coach coordinator split right. The other thing that
that's one that I got carried away with on the and I admittedly got carried away on the defensive one just based on the madness of auction, where like I had him, I bid him, I nominated my defensive coordinator, who I ended up getting, San Francisco guy, I think, Matt LaFlaniel, LaFlaniel, yeah. Oh no, sorry, that was my offensive coordinator. I got him for a good clip. Don Martindale, $3 million, Baltimore defensive coordinator. I nominated him at like 1.2 when he started like flying up and just like out of reaction upped my proxy bid. And then when I thought about him, like, and then I left him at 3 mil, and I'm like, because that's how high he'd gotten. And I was like, just someone outbid me because I don't want to pay this. Someone outbid me.
Your coach game is real strong right now. You're ranked second behind Hollywood.
Yeah.
I don't know who's Hollywood.
Well, Hollywood has the depth. Hollywood's got the Kansas City offensive coordinator, Buffalo defensive coordinator, Andy Reid, and Kevin Stefanski. Yeah, so he's got 4 coaches and Andy Reid.
Yeah, and like all of his coaches are like starting ones are solid, so that's going to be a big help for him. So yeah, the lowest position, also thankfully outside of the coaches, cornerback, currently accounting for only 2.2% of all salary.
I can see that.
Yeah, and then like safety, defensive lineman, linebacker, it's basically what you would think. But the vast majority of the money, 60% of the total payroll, is going to running backs and wide receivers.
Yeah.
Now, the more interesting thing in my mind is we had a bit of a like question before this started of like which team is going to have the most payroll committed to them and which team is going to have the least payroll. And we were pretty good at guessing, actually.
Yeah.
So in terms of the highest, we were right. It's going to be Kansas City, $144.7 million currently.
Mm-hmm.
Any guesses for second? Let's open this up to the league, which may just be Doug. I don't know how many people are actually watching at this point.
Second highest. Second highest. So sorry, what's the question? Is second highest like NFL team that has the most players bid or the most players signed?
Not most players, payroll.
Payroll signed. Okay.
Yeah, the most money committed to them, including current auctions and signed players at this point.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I have my guess. Actually, do I have my guess? Jesus Christ.
Doug, what's your guess? It's going to take forever. Everyone submit their guesses.
Well, I don't see anything being submitted right now. But
no one is watching, Jay.
We're recording this.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it eventually. The Ravens?
That is correct.
Yeah.
Baltimore with $124.45 million. They're number 2.
Who else on Baltimore got? I mean, I know that Chris gave Lamar Jackson a shitload of money.
Even J.K. Dobbins got like $17 million, and their running backs combined got like $35 million. Mark Andrews probably got a lot of money too. I'm guessing.
Oh yeah. Mark Andrews did get a lot of money. I thought I was going to get Mark Andrews for under 10. Like, this is what I felt like when I started this bid. I was like, Mark Andrews is easy. I'll get him at 10. I think now we're getting some guesses, but it's too late. We already revealed them. Not Dallas. It was the Ravens who were the second.
Patrick, for what it's worth, Dallas is third, so good guess.
Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, I guess so.
Dallas
That's true.
is only about $6 million behind Baltimore.
Wow. Okay. That's up there. Doug thought it was the Rams. How far down is Rams?
12th.
12th.
Not even close. Rams aren't doing well.
Well, then he was right when he said this. So Dallas is third. Wait, who else in Baltimore got a lot of money then?
I think we named all the main money
big ones. How much did Andrews
Some
go
of the
for?
corners on Baltimore, like I think 2 different Baltimore corners are getting like $4 million plus.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews got 15.6.
Yeah. And Marquise Brown, I don't know what he got, but he would have got something relatively significant.
Yeah. He was actually one of the guys that took a while to get onto the list. I nominated him. I nominated him pretty late. Oh, also I gave the coach 7.5.
Oh yeah,
and the defensive coach 3. So,
okay, so that's definitely helping.
Calais Campbell for not that much, but yeah, I mean.
Let me tell you where it gets what the surprising one is to me. So third is Dallas, fourth is the Saints. None of this is really that shocking at this point.
Yeah.
Arizona, also they've got a good offense, or expected to have a good offense. So yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
No one would ever guess what the sixth team is.
The sixth team.
I just told everyone 5 teams. Those 5 were, Kansas City, Baltimore, Dallas, New Orleans, Arizona. There's no way anyone guesses what the sixth team is.
The Eagles? I'm just throwing it out there as a.
It's a good guess.
I paid a bunch of Eagles.
What do you got, Doug? And who are there's 2 people following us. Who is
Patrick and Doug.
All right, Patrick and Doug. What do you got? Bills. Okay, let's see where the Bills are at. It isn't the Bills, but it's a good guess.
The Bills. Good guess.
Actually, the Bills are 20th.
Well, who else on the Bills really would command a lot of money? Like the first signing was a Bill. It was
Josh Allen
signing Josh Allen, but that was like 14 mil.
Yeah, that's true. There's
all right. Jeff's coming in with Pittsburgh.
Coming in with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is at 9th overall. So they're not too far off. But
yeah. Interesting.
So
this is a surprise to you. This is a team that's a surprise to you.
It's a massive surprise to me.
I don't know if that means that it's like a team that you expected to be higher. Or lower.
No, it's a team I would have not expected to be this high. We haven't heard from Doug yet, but I'm just going to. I'm just going to say it's Cleveland.
The Browns. Well,
Cleveland Browns
got some star power.
Well, that's exactly when you think about it. Yeah. I mean, I gave Odell a shit ton of money. Landry got a ton of money.
Yeah.
You have 2 running backs, one of whom should get a lot of money, and the other one was insane. It should have been like an $8 million contract. They got 17 or something.
That's what Kareem Hunt got?
Yeah, Kareem Hunt
got 17.
Nick Chubb, tight end from last year. Hooper is also. I imagine he got.
I paid Hooper about 10 mil.
Yeah, so Cleveland actually got a lot of money. Now,
wow.
On the other end of things, we were debating who's going to be last. And we were right about these sort of things too, but you got to pick one team. Which team is it going to be, Jam?
The team that is going to be last?
Yeah, and the last place team is only last place by $1.5 million currently. So even a change in bidding at the moment might actually switch this around.
Miami?
All right, Jam's guessing Miami.
My
Anyone
guess
else?
is Miami. Doug actually said he guessed Browns with his answer being delayed. So, Doug, you know what? I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I think you got that.
You're a nice guy. It was
only a minute. It was only a minute after Jeff said Pittsburgh. So I think I just didn't notice it. The whiskey's kicking in a little bit.
Fair enough. All right, Doug, that was an impressive guess if you got that right. So who's last? Tell us who's last, everyone.
Last.
Jam's got Miami.
I got Miami.
I'm not going to tell you what the right answer is until we get a few guesses here.
What do you think? Is it Miami in my mind? Okay. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Though I think DJ Chark and Leonard Fournette got decent money. Jeff saying the Washington football team.
Washington, also a pretty solid guess there.
The WTFs or the WFTs.
All right, so the answer, starting in from not last, Jacksonville has a payroll of 74.99 currently, 26th in the league. Miami is tied for 29th in the league at 56 million, tied with the Patriots.
Okay. Hold on. We got one more guess from Doug before you reveal it.
Colts. Okay, the Colts are currently, let's see, where's Indy here? 13th in the league. They're actually on the high side, $95.6 million. I think people forget how much money Darius Leonard got.
Oh, right, yeah. T.Y. must have gotten money.
Factor in Jonathan Taylor, who got like 27 million.
Yeah.
There's a lot of there's some money there.
Okay.
So 31st was Washington with 45.65, only 1.5 million ahead of the last place team, the New York Jets with 44.
The New York Jets, yeah,
million.
That makes sense. That makes
sense.
Who
on the Jets is there that you really want?
Huh. I thought I'd have an opportunity to bust out this hat right here. But, I guess it was
the least paid team.
To be fair, it was between this hat and this hat for the least paid team, but I think the Bengals have some star power.
Bengals are at Cincinnati.
Bengals have some star power.
21st.
Yeah, because they got AJ Green, they got Tyler Boyd. Joe Burrow got a decent amount, more than I thought he'd get, but there was also early days of the auction where I wasn't sure how wild it was going to get, because that was my initial thinking, is like, this is going to be my moment to root for a Bengal from the beginning. I'm going to draft Joe Burrow, or I'm going to pay for Joe Burrow. But then I was like, I'm probably going to have him as my backup. And he was at like 12 mil.
Something stupid.
Like, I got my backup QB pretty cheap.
So who paid Burrow? So the interesting thing that I'm seeing a lot of actually now, people are paying for these guys and thinking, they're going to be better. This is a future. These guys are going to be free agents shortly.
Yeah,
Everyone we're signing is a free agent shortly.
Yeah. So you can give him 4 years. But then again, it's not 4 years on a rookie contract. It's 4 years on the contract you gave them, right?
Yeah,
so
and are you to waste 4 years on it? Because he might not actually turn out all that well.
That's true, yeah. Like, he went for, he will. He's going to be amazing. But he went for 10.05. So not that, but had to Houston. Derek's team.
Chris Mack signed Jordan Love.
Yeah.
What is the
point? That's weird.
Like, as a rookie draft, fine, because you could wait, you could extend him when he gets the job. But what are you going to do? Give him one of your 4-year contracts, and then maybe he starts in like the 4th year and he just sits there, take up a roster spot? Like, I know the goal here, he'll eventually be moved to the practice squad.
Yeah.
But still, it's just wasted money. He is not starting in the next couple of years. So
yeah. Well, I think considering he got him for $550,000, which is very cheap. I think maybe to give Chris the benefit of the doubt, the thinking could be that there might be something to all this dissension going on with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is still not very happy about this. He's brought it up very recently to say, well, clearly they went after a QB when we had other needs, blah, blah. So maybe, who knows, something might happen and Aaron Rodgers is no longer a Packer at some time soon. That has nothing to do with his play. Jordan Love becomes a starting quarterback in the NFL at $550,000.
Who still has zero value. Jordan Love cannot start in the NFL now. Maybe, I'll give him some sort of benefit of the doubt. Maybe someone teaches him how to throw a football and make decisions at some point in the next few years. And eventually he can be a quarterback. But he is so bad right now. There's no chance he would start. The Packers drafted him specifically knowing this is a multi-year process to teach him how to not suck. But the natural arm talent is there. But he's just so terrible right now. They would never consider starting him. If Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, I'm telling you, Jordan Love is not coming into the game.
You don't think if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, it's not Jordan Love?
No.
Who's there?
Whoever the other quarterback is. There's no way they bring in Jordan Love this season. You laugh, but I'm dead serious. It's not that uncommon for teams to get a sort of a project player where it's we'll keep you around, we'll teach you how to play the position, but you're not coming in this year. Jordan Love is not ready to play in the NFL. Not even close. It's going to be one of these things where, by week 8, for some reason, he's starting, and you're just
and he's destroying
that from the preseason.
I'm just going to pull up this clip from this podcast we were talking about at that point. Jordan Love does not start, even if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. He's having a great year somehow. You never know, man. Nobody thought anything of Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew got his opportunity and stole the starting job.
Sure, no one thought anything of him. Whereas Jordan Love, people have thoughts on him, and it's that he could not play in the NFL at present. There's some debate of whether he can eventually. I think no. Some people think yes, but at least that's a valid debate. No one is legitimately thinking Jordan Love could start right now.
Well, wow.
Man threw 20 interceptions or something against one of the worst conferences in college.
Yeah. Let's there's no real there's no real, like, he didn't really shine all that much. But I think, and also, I guess, what's the max contract? You can give out 2 4-year contracts on your team total.
I don't remember. It's
something like that.
Or yell at people to check the rules, but I can check the rules too.
But I think it was something like that. Like, you can only have a number of players.
It's very limited.
So I'm going to see who else on Chris's roster he would give a 4-year contract to. I assume at this point he has to give one to Jordan Love, because Jordan Love is the project.
I think he's just going to realize that was a mistake, and he'll put him on the practice squad. But I think he'll just accept that, like, he's unlikely to start.
Yeah,
it would be a huge waste of putting like a $4 million contract on him when you have a limited amount of them.
Yeah, I guess so. If you're interested, would you like to see some Jordan Love highlights from our draft podcast and see your analysis?
Bring that up?
I can bring it up right now.
All right, that's awesome.
Let's see it.
Jordan Love. I don't know what you want me to say here. I mean, he's got a big arm. I'll give him that, and he can time his passes pretty well sometimes so that they hit a window. But I guess that's not when he's just throwing it to nobody or various other defenders. Yeah, good luck.
I forgot how like unflattering that was.
Yeah,
I remember it was unflattering, but I forgot how unflattering.
My T. Higgins one was pretty unflattering too. There are some players in this draft I really didn't like.
This one was more unflattering.
What, T. Higgins?
Look at this guy. Oh, that's like behind us. That's weird.
I just see his eyes peering over the two of us.
He was. Well, good luck to Chris putting him on for 4 years.
Let's be clear though. I am not the best judge of talent. Sometimes I'm good with things. As I said in the other league, I'm great with tight end evaluation for whatever reason. True, yeah. No idea why. I'm good with that one. But last year it's like, who's going to suck? DK Metcalf.
That's true. Yeah. We had that on podcast. That was our first podcast.
I will own that. I failed in that call, but I'm still like, I still doubt him in drafts. Like I don't have any shares of him. I'm like, nah, he's not gonna. But I shouldn't think the opposite, because the reason I believed he was going to be bad is like he had all sorts of physical talent, but I was like, he'll never put it together. There's all sorts of players who have had physical talent that never have any actual ability in the NFL. But if he's even in year one, just based on physical talent without any real learning opportunity, was able to do what he did, he should have a pretty big ceiling. But I just can't bring myself to do it because Lockett is always drafted around the same ADP and is the better receiver and will continue to be Seattle's better receiver, especially in PPR leagues. So I don't know. I'm not getting any shares of Metcalf this year, but we'll see how he does.
DK scored his total points for the year were 154.5. And if you look at the way that his games went, he started off real hot, 12.4, 15.1. Then he had like an 8.7, a 1.1. He was very up and down. And he ended the year kind of up and down as well. So and in the auction he got 17.5 from Scranton. So he got paid for his services. I did not think he would actually get paid all that much, but I guess there was a lot of hype coming off last season. But for a rookie receiver, is that, like, in your experience, is that a good number to get in your first year, 154 points?
I mean, it was a good rookie season for him, and it's a good thing to build off of. From what I remember watching the games, though, he's still a very, very bad route runner. He might get better at this, hopefully, but he's largely just like overpowering people with his giganticism, like Ken Griffey Jr. level giganticism.
He's a physical monster. He's made out of clay. And
there's only so far that can get you. If he learns to run routes this year, he has a chance to be like, top 10 receiver in the NFL without question. But that's a big if. There's also a big chance that what he's done is what he will always do. And it'll be like, you're sort of like this middling, like, who's that guy, like Mike Williams on the Chargers?
Yeah.
It's sort of a similar thing with him, right? Like sometimes he'll have these big games.
Yeah.
He's good at fighting for the football, but sometimes he just disappears completely. So Metcalf has at least the opportunity to show that he can take the next step up, but he needs to actually do it, and we'll see if that happens.
So, what you call? I must have missed this in the comments, but I believe, Jeff, you're talking about Jordan Love, considering how much we were shitting on Jordan Love. That professional evaluators trade up for him. It's true.
It's true. People have traded up for other people that have just not worked out to. If there's one team that I would give the benefit of the doubt to be able to develop Jordan Love, is Green Bay. 100%. So at least he went to the right place here. They know how to let him just
doing it.
sit on his ass and just watch what's happening and learn from it. And maybe it'll be fine. But like, how are you so bad at throwing in such a bad conference?
What kind of relationship he's going to end up having with Aaron Rodgers, who's very vocally come out to say, I wasn't too thrilled that you did this. I mean, I know he's a pro. He's not going to be a dick to him just for being a dick to him. But, it's not off to a good start. When
I saw this thing on YouTube, which was pretty funny, where it was just like, it was someone pretending to be Aaron Rodgers watching the draft. And like, yeah, you traded up. This is great. You're going to get me some weapons. Oh, I love you guys. You're so kind to me. And then it's like Jordan Love's announced. And like 5 seconds later, he gets a phone call. And it's just Brett Favre laughing at
it. Karma's a bitch, Aaron. And so this is what's in the years. 4 players getting 4 years, 8 players getting 3 years, 16 players getting 2 years. 4 players getting 4 years. That's better than I thought, actually. Because you could actually get some good stuff. You like the guys who are picking up rookies can have, but I mean, a lot of the rookies went for so much. Like the top tier rookies got paid. So it's like that's 4 years at that clip. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing where people will assign their 4-year contracts to, because I think there's going to be a lot of the league that assigns their 4-year contracts to players that are just like, this is my star, this is the person my team is about. That's
kind of what I was thinking. Yeah,
and then there's going to be some of the league who is going to be more like, you know what, whatever, I can find a new star. This guy's contract seems under what I believe this guy is worth, so I'm going to put my 4-year contract on him. And I'm curious to see how that sort of split plays out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because you could tell certain teams that have kind of gone in that direction where they really paid the younger guys. And I would assume if you really paid younger guys that you want to put 4 years on them. But there's that risk to it, right? What if they just don't turn out? The NFL's history is full of guys that didn't turn out, that got drafted real early.
No one is giving Dobbins $17 million for this season, where Ingram is still going to take the majority of the carries.
Yeah,
that it's clearly a long-term play. I think one of my long-term contracts, I'm not committing to this, but I think one of the likely ones is going to be that Packers guy, AJ Dillon. Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Because
the guy.
Yeah, Aaron Jones's contract is up after this year. He's done.
Yeah.
And it's possible, but it's unlikely that the Packers will pay him money when they've invested this draft pick in Dillon. So I know he's going to do nothing this year. I'm fine with that. My plan is to invest in him long-term and hopefully have a cheap starter going forward.
Yeah, I think that was kind of my thinking with Aaron Jones too, is like, that's probably going to be a player I have to give 2 years to, because I just don't know what he's going to be, what situation he's going to be in after that point. So it makes sense that obviously the Packers likely don't pay him and go with the guys they drafted. And AJ Dillon got quite a bit. Like he got paid as well, like more so than I thought he would. I think.
Yeah, I had to give him more money than I really wanted to. But
we gave him 5.5. Yeah, so it's quite a bit.
I don't have a lot of running back options, and I wanted at least one that has upside. Most of the guys I have are the opposite. It's like they have a decent floor. Like, Cohen in Chicago, he's not going to set the world ablaze, but
no, he's not.
He'll get some points. It's fine. I wanted at least one guy who I'm like, this is someone that I think can be someone. So my team, it's funny. Most of, if you add up the total salaries on running backs on my team, it's still less than most people are paying their RB1 alone.
Well, I mean, I know that we were talking about T. Higgins a little while back. This is what Doug had to say. So my response to that, my personal response to that would be,
that dude is pretty tall.
See, I will say highlights make him look real majestic. I'm impressed at how much. I'm impressed at how much chip crunching you got right into that audio.
That was really
very obvious. Hey man, I'll be rooting for T. Higgins. Hoping for to see some some Bengals success this year, but who knows?
So I think Doug's comment about where he got T. Higgins is a great segue into let's talk about the FOMFA rookie draft.
Yeah, let me pull up the draft as who went where, and I guess this year it won't be as much you've picked out certain players to talk about. This is going to be more hot takes, right?
Do you have the ability to put it in like a window on the side and the two of us on one side? I know you're not prepared for this at all. I
can try. I think I can get the.
Let's see how it goes if you can put up the draft pick list.
Yeah. I don't know if you like. We can start off talking about some of these things, and I'll see if I can get them. I can get it put up here.
So top 6 picks in the league, exactly, basically what I mocked. I forget it, like with CEH and Taylor, who I mocked first originally. But once Damian Williams went out, it was obvious he was going to go first. So there were no surprises there.
Yeah.
Edwards-Helaire, 2nd Taylor, 3rd Dobbins, 4th Swift, 5th Akers. I believe Cloud to Ground moved up to get Swift to get 2 running backs. Turret Rocks traded down, which was surprising to me because I believe Turret Rocks originally traded up into the top 5 specifically to get a running back.
Yeah, Mark did some interesting things in the first round.
I remember, maybe I'm wrong about this, and while you're figuring that out, I'm going to look into the trades that were made. But I could swear Mark traded up into the top 5 because like his running back situation is trashed. So it was like, oh yeah, that trade makes a lot of sense. And then he traded out of it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've just had a half a bottle of wine, but I could swear that Cloud to Ground and Turret Rocks. Yeah, Turret Rocks. Oh, that was the later one. Maybe not. Clearly I'm just up. No, that's the last 30 days. Let me go back like 200 days and see if there's something here.
Like, let me, I don't know how, like, let me see if this works, what this actually looks like. I've never tried this before, but we can see it now, right? This is the list,
yeah.
And you got the comments, which shows the pick trades, but I don't know how far back that goes.
Yeah, it seems like I'm wrong. Luis is asking if we've discussed his draft. We're getting to it, Luis.
Hey man, Luis, feel free to throw your comments and I'll put them on screen and irritate the hell out of Phil.
Yeah, I can't seem to find. Maybe I was wrong about this, and maybe Mark wasn't in the top or didn't trade up, and maybe he just had that pick. But it surprised me a lot that he traded back, given his top running back now. Let's take a look here. Turret Rocks.
Cheers to you, Jeff.
Also, is Mongols acceptable if the Redskins had to trade? Is Mongols okay? I don't really even know. I like to refer to the team as Turret Rocks just to avoid.
The rules are different in Ireland. He is in Ireland. I'm telling you. Interesting comment from Denver here. Was there a correlation between the draft and the way we paid rookies and Ben Wyatt? The rookies and Ben Wyatt got paid way more than they would in the draft.
Yeah, but in terms of like who got what salary, like if
I see. Interesting.
List, other than Denzel Mims, which I'm sure we're going to get to in a minute, it's probably not too far off. And Justin Jefferson, which I traded up to get at 15 pick, obviously got a lot more in the other league. But I think there's a correlation, but there's some surprises there. So Mark's top running back, he traded out of the top 4, and it's currently Marlon Mack or
Marlon
Phillip
Mack.
Lindsay? I don't know. This is brutal. Like,
yeah, his starting running back is Marlon Mack. Yeah,
Mark currently has 12 running backs on his roster.
there you go.
None of whom should actually be started.
Just stack them up, man. Stack them up.
Now, it's interesting because this is what he's doing in BWAFF too. Similar to my strategy, if you call it that, it was more just everyone is paying ridiculous amounts, so I just refused to do it. It wasn't much of a strategy. But Mark is the only team whose running backs are actually ranked worse than mine. So
can I read off Mark's FOMFA running backs?
Yeah, oh yeah, please.
I've just never seen a list of running backs this long. Eno Benjamin, AJ Dillon, Rico Dowdle. I don't even know who that is. Royce Freeman, Justice Hill, Joshua Kelly, Philip Lindsay, Marlon Mack, Adrian Peterson, Tony Pollard, Benny Snell, and Michael Warren. I guess his starters would be Philip Lindsay and Marlon Mack.
I'm an Eagles fan.
Maybe Adrian Peterson. Depend since Gweiss strangled his way out of the NFL. Maybe it'll be Adrian Peterson.
Now, for the reference for the other league who aren't familiar with Mark's team, Mark was in the finals last year, and he still has a very strong team. Like, his wide receivers are crazy good. He's got a solid tight end. He's got Lamar Jackson. His team is going to be fine. But it's strange that he would trade down when he had an opportunity to actually draft a running back, and just didn't.
So Mark's pick was the 4th pick, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. Where DeAndre Swift went to Jason. That's Cloud to Ground for the Ben Waffle people on the line. This is what I just called. Cloud to Ground is Jason Moore's team, who is Oakland Rejects in the Ben Wyatt league.
We'll come back to how Oakland is doing in that, but stick on this league for a bit.
So what? Yeah. So we've got we're 4 picks down. I think you were right that the way that the picks went so far have made sense, right?
Yeah, Luis was the one who just blew up the draft.
That's right there, 1.07 for everyone who's following along.
Yeah, Lucas is drafting Denzel Mims. Now, I'm actually a fan of Mims. I think that, there's not a lot of competition in New York. I liked what I saw out of his college tape. Can you bring that up? Do we have some scouting on Mims?
I can load it. It's just going to take a minute, but let's just keep chatting. I'll let you know when it's up.
When it's ready.
Sure.
So it's not that I'm not a fan of Mims. My issue with this pick was that Luis had several other picks that he almost certainly could have taken Mims with. It was basically going to be a given that Cloud to Ground was going to take Henry Ruggs at 1.09. Jason is a huge Oakland fan, as you've seen, as he destroys his team by drafting nothing with Raiders in the other league. So with Ruggs falling to him, there's no doubt that he was going to have that. Though, admittedly, Team Marines originally had that pick. I think Jason traded up in the draft to get him. But still, odds are Mims would have fallen. And if Luis didn't want to take Judy, someone probably would have traded to actually get him.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's a good point. Because Judy went next to Mark's team. But like at 1.07, Judy would have been the pick that everyone assumed they'd be getting. And considering how savvy, like for the people in Ben Wyatt who don't know, Luis is real savvy with trades. I think it's between yourself and Luis is the people who've traded the most in that league.
I have traded the most, but Luis has made the most beneficial trades to his own team, I would say.
That's an interesting stat. Who traded the most versus who made their team best with trades?
Yeah.
But yeah, I would have to assume that he was having these conversations during the draft, knowing the guys that he wanted and knowing kind of their value. But at the same time, he might have just thought, I want to make sure I lock down Denzel Mims because he firmly notes that he got the guys that he wanted.
No, and I respect the hell out of that it's too easy to become a slave to the rankings. And I've done it in the past, and it's bit me in the ass on linebackers 2 years in a row. 1 year, I was debating between Deion Jones on Atlanta and I don't even remember his name, but the Jets drafted some guy higher, and he was considered to be the better prospect. I was like, I really like what I'm seeing out of Jones. I like his opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, what the hell do I know? Like, I'm some guy. I'm all about stats. Listening to the consensus makes more sense than just listening to my gut here. I'm going with this Jets player. Big mistake. But not as big as the next year when I had the exact same debate when I was like, I like this Darius Leonard guy, but John Evans on Tennessee, he's got the draft capital behind him. He's got more people thinking he's a better linebacker. So, again, I guess I have to go with Evans.
Yeah.
So I have been boned by being a slave to the draft rankings to a lot. So I respect the hell out of Luis for getting the guy he wants.
Yeah.
I don't debate that. I just think that when I'm making these picks, both the players are going to be gone by my next pick. There's no doubt about it. So it's just which do I pick here? What I don't have issue with Luis taking Mims. It's that he could have got Mims at his next pick.
He probably could have, yeah. Especially the way that everyone else was valuing those guys. But then again, he took Chase Young in his next pick. Shall we look at some Denzel Mims highlights?
I think I liked him. I guess we'll see.
All right, let's roll.
The senior out of Baylor is 6'3", ran a 4.38 40, and has a 38.5-inch vertical, and some of the longest arms in the draft. In other words, he's a coach's dream, in theory being able to burn down the field and go up and get any pass. Mims isn't just fast, but also uses that speed to deceive defenders with quick changes and force them off balance. While he produced at Baylor, there's plenty of questions on how that will translate to the NFL. Mims has one of the highest ceilings in the draft, but also one of the lowest odds of reaching it.
All right, so I guess Luis is going for that highest ceilings side of it.
Well, versus that I know what I'm talking about. That could just be wow.
All right, I don't know if we want to go on to the other ones. I do have to quickly run down and grab my charger, so I'm going to throw this on the screen and let Phil take it away for a little bit.
All right, so I have to fill dead air. I can either do that by actually talking about football or just staring at the screen drinking wine. I don't know which I'm going to choose here. Let's talk about some football. So, yeah, the interesting things that I found here was, again, Luis, when you get to 10, 11, Chase Young and Isaiah Simmons. Historically, defensive players in our league do not go until the late first round. I know I've taken Myles Garrett in like the 14th or 15th pick or something like that before as the first off the board. I took Myles Jack. That one didn't work out, but as the first pick off the board. Historically, like in my late first round pick, I have often taken the first defender off the board. So this is actually higher than I think a defender has ever gone in our league's history. And interestingly, it's in a draft where the offensive talent was tremendous. So Luis is not just banking on defensive success here. He's doing it when there was a lot of good opportunities here. And it looks like he's commenting in the wrong place, so I'll read his comment. I wanted Young and Simmons at 110 and 111. I knew Mims wasn't going to last long, so that's why I took him there. I'm going for upside. All right, fair enough.
Hey, man, you do you. You do you, Luis.
We're now already talking about you wanting Young and Simmons at 10 and 11. I don't doubt Chase Young is going to be good, but the issue is with the salary, like the grading that we do. So picking at 110, I don't remember what it is, but it's probably something like 2.7 million-ish in terms of what you're going to pay that guy that you're taking at 110. And given what you could get even like a high-end defensive end in the league in free agency for, you're not getting a lot of value there. Even if Chase Young is really good, your upside is extremely limited in terms of what you're going to get out of him. Same with Isaiah Simmons. The best outside of Darius Leonard, who's just like a freak. So good luck trying to chase that dream. But the defenders will get around 10 million if they hit free agency. Whereas you got a good running back, you got a good wide receiver, they hit the market, you might be looking at $25-30 million there. So there's not a lot of upside to be had with these picks. There's a good amount of floor. And I think it's helpful when you're just trying to get some good players to fill in some holes. But at the same time, it just feels like an overdraft to me. In another draft when there's not as much offensive talent, I get it. And I support it. I've done similar things, like, as I said, Garrett, when I was like, I could take some wide receiver that the odds of panning out are slim to none. If he does hit, great. But if he doesn't hit, I've just wasted his pick. Or I could take Myles Garrett, who's going to be a pretty solid defensive end for me for a number of years. I get that, but Justin Jefferson was still on the board.
Well, there's Luis's comment about 1.1 and 1.01, which we talked about. And what you were noting about salary, the top paid or top 5 defensive ends in 2019, at least in FOMFA, were getting 9.5.
Yeah.
So yeah. So like it's in that range that we're talking about.
Yeah. So you might get like 20, 30 million of additional value over what you would pay this guy in the market. But at wide receiver and running back, you could get potentially like, 70, 80 million of additional value here. So I don't like it. I haven't frankly liked Luis's entire offseason. Well, let me be clear. I like it as someone in his division, but I haven't liked it from a standpoint of just trading guys who were, talented, who were under control. The Mahomes trade was just ridiculous. I don't understand that one at all.
What was that trade?
Let's see if we can pull it up. And yeah, at some point I'm going to need to get my charger, but I'll do it now. We're looking up Mahomes trade.
All right, let me pull up what the actual transaction was. So this was Patrick Mahomes. I don't even go that far back on it. Oh man, this is really hard to navigate when you've been drinking. Like I started the whiskey. Let's see, where did I start the whiskey at? Somewhere around. Let me pull myself back up here. Somewhere around here, and I've already come down to here. So Jason would be very proud. I've been drinking way more than I should on a Sunday. Let's see, who did you end up trading for Mahomes? Luis, do you know? Can you just throw it on the chat so I don't have to dig it out here?
An extremely highly paid Aaron Rodgers. He got Ryan's first round out of it.
Luis is saying no need to look at the trade. It was bad. You know what, though? I respect that because Luis just loves to trade, man. And he's good at it. Generally pretty good at it.
No, that's what concerned me. When I saw all these trades, every time I saw Lucas Shaws had made a trade, I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, what did he do that?
It was real quiet, though. It was real quiet on the trade market at the time. So I think he's right. He just needed a fix. He needed to get his trade on.
I think we all just assumed that, to get these players, it's going to cost us a lot. And then Ryan was just like, you know what? I'll submit an offer. And so here's the trade.
Yeah, okay.
Aaron Rodgers, who you're like, yeah, he's a good QB, but he's also making $26 million.
Yeah.
He actually
Thanks to me.
He's considered a negative. Like if Luis would try to trade him, no one, maybe Chris Mack. No one other than maybe Chris Mack would take him from him. The 1.07 pick, 4.07, a 4th rounder next year, and a 6th rounder next year. And then that got Patrick Mahomes and a couple of 7th rounders, who cares? But the key to Mahomes here is that he was on a pretty cheap deal and is now only getting paid $10 million through 2024 to be easily one of the best running backs in the league.
Coming off winning a Super Bowl, getting about $10 million for like the next 4 years.
So Ryan really he won that one in my view. But yeah, let's go back to the little draft list. Let's figure out some other good picks, bad picks.
All right, here we go. So this is first round only. I could pull up the second round if we wanted to get into it, but this is first round. So
before we get into the second round, I mean, Luis obviously the surprise with the defensive one. Again, Justin Jefferson on the board at 14. He goes with Michael Pittman instead. It got to the point I didn't even need Justin Jefferson, but I was like, at 1.15, this is fucking ridiculous. Am I the only one who really likes this guy? So I submitted Mark a trade offer the evening that his pick started, but he's in Ireland, so he didn't really notice until the morning. he submitted to me a counter, and for what it's worth, I think the trade was my first round pick next year and the 2.12 pick this year, and I guess like a 5th round pick I didn't care about this year. So I was willing to do that, thinking my pick will be probably late next year, and I think Jefferson should be a mid-round pick this year. So it made sense to me to do it.
I remember I woke up in the just in the morning and checked like how the draft was going and how the auctions were going, and I saw that you ended up getting Justin Jefferson. I got so annoyed. I just started sending these. I started sending these pissy messages that these really. I already had a bad night because my son was just having a bad night, and I woke up all groggy and saw that Phil traded into the end of the first round and got like probably one of the best receivers on the list. I wasn't even in competition. It didn't matter to me at all, and I'm not competing with Phil. He's not in my division, but I was just annoyed. I was sending all these pissy messages back and forth. Oh, looks like Phil's got even stronger.
It's the only time I've ever been like, did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Like, what is happening?
Yeah, I apologize. That was not cool. But I was just like, I saw it. I'm like, seriously? Justin Jefferson went at 1.15. And I think you probably gave up more than you were thinking that you would have to get it. And 100%. and kudos on Mark, because Mark has that kind of that reputation of like, he gets value out of his picks. But fucking 15th pick of the first round, you get like one of the best receivers in it. That's incredible.
The interesting thing about that pick, though, is because I submitted the trade offer the night before and received a response from Mark, but it was like on the weekend. I'm not waking up to check trade offers. By the time I wake up, and I have like 5 minutes before Mark's pick expires, and
right, because it's on the timer.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't have time to counter. I either take this or I don't. If you actually look at when I took the pick, it was literally at like 2 hours, 59 minutes, and like 20 seconds. Like I barely got it in there.
Just got it in there, just right in time, and knew who to pick. But the thing is, like, having Justin Jefferson drop to that point, that definitely I think took everyone by surprise. But I mean, maybe we're all wrong about this, because correct me if I'm wrong, he dropped in the draft too, right? In the NFL draft, or did he get drafted?
The only drop he had was that the Eagles didn't draft him when they should. Other than that, it was expected that
go Birds.
He would probably go after Lamb, Judy, and Ruggs, and it was expected he would go 4th. And then the Eagles took Reagor has more upside than Jefferson in my mind, but the floor of Jefferson is a million times higher than Reagor. Reagor could be another Whiteside, another Aguilar, another guy with bricks for hands who just doesn't do shit. I'm hoping he's not. He has all kinds of talent, and the fact that he did as well as he did with one of the worst quarterbacks in college is actually really impressive. But he also had drop problems, and given the history of Eagles receivers, that concerned me. I'm like, just get the guy who can catch. Like, just for once, give us that guy. So,
all right. So to feel better about your pick, you want to see a little bit of Justin Jefferson?
Sure.
All right, let's throw it up there.
Jefferson is a talented receiver who uses quick feet to create separation on the field and impressive strength to pulling contested catches. He uses his long arms and soft hands to give his quarterback a larger target than his size would indicate. As a pass catcher, he plays better out of the slot than on the perimeter, but his physicality allows him to be used in either role. Jefferson can list pass blocking as a strength, helping out the ground game in addition to pulling balls in. His incredible performance in the Peach Bowl, followed by an impressive showing at the National Championship, has earned him a place in the first round.
God damn, he looked good. He looked good. Look at those great throws he was getting from a hell of a talented quarterback who's going to be amazing in the NFL.
I would have liked to see better highlights, but you picked. I would like to see more.
I did 54 highlights.
This is the ones where it's wide open. It's like, yeah. Okay.
The quality had to drop if I did 54 highlights. Are we done? So are we? Do we still have any controversial picks from the first round we want to talk about before we get into the second?
Let's move on to the 7. We're not going to do all 7, but let's at least go.
Yeah. But Marines getting Tua at the end of first round. What do you think of that? I mean, it's kind of like you got to trust what Tua's going to do, essentially, to spend a late first round. But, I mean, quarterbacks tend to go second round-ish, right? So it's like jumping the gun to get one of the top ones.
Yeah, but he is considered one of the best quarterbacks to come out in a while. I think there's good value based on, the projections of what this guy is going to do. I mean, I have my own issues with Tua based on largely 2 things. One, that he only throws to one guy usually. His first read, he doesn't read at all. Like, if you look through stats, he throws to his first read like 70 to 80% of the time, which is like not just a little high, it's insanely high.
So I'll be Devontae, I guess, Devontae Parker.
That's quite possible when you played in Alabama when you have, Ruggs and Judy.
Yeah.
Open. So it's like, who's the first read on this play? Oh, they're open. Fine. So we don't really know how well he's going to do when his first read isn't open. In addition, anytime that he played a defense who was remotely acceptable in college, he did not do particularly well. His stats against teams that were ranked was like, other than that, he was pretty comparable with Burrow when you look at their stats. But then there's the injury that made him drop a little. But Burrow, you can see how he did against ranked teams, and he still did well. He still was a great quarterback. Tua did not do well. He looked like a mediocre player against ranked teams in college and just like loaded up on just destroying all the bad teams with all these great weapons he has against terrible teams. Like, it would be difficult to not destroy bad teams with the weapons that Alabama had. So on one hand, I see this goes back to my gut feeling and what I see versus what like the experts see. And I am not an NFL scout, so I trust the experts who are like, oh yeah, I guess Tua is good. But I'm avoiding him in most of my drafts because I've learned from these linebacker things that have bit me in the ass. I'm like, someone else can take this risk because I think there's a decent chance that like Tua is just going to disappoint people who are like, I thought this guy was good, and why is he just constantly feeding it to Devontae Adams every play? Which, by the way, is why I've drafted Devontae Adams in almost every
league. Oh, Devontae Parker
just throws to his first read like all the goddamn time. He is a pretty good get right now.
You're saying Devontae Parker.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I had Devontae Parker as I was top bid on Devontae Parker on Ben Wyatt for a good long chunk, and then like he just kind of went into the stratosphere of crazy expensive after a while. But yeah, like that makes complete sense, and it's kind of like the big question mark around Devontae Parker because he had a great year last year, but it's like, okay, new quarterback, how does he do? Blah blah.
A new quarterback. He has like 4 or 5 years of being goddamn useless, and then he finally lived up to his potential after years of fantasy people be like, oh yeah, Devontae Parker's a star. Oh shit, he did nothing. I had to deal with people talking about how great this guy was for like 4 years while he did absolutely nothing. You may remember in past podcasts me shitting all over Devontae.
Oh yeah, I recall because I was on Steven's team.
Yeah, and then he finally did something this year.
Steven, who drafted Tua and is also, I believe, right now top bidder on Devontae Parker in FOMFA. So Steven, like, say what you will, he's got his loyalties known. He likes Devontae Parker, and it paid off for him last year. I know he took a win off of me that I desperately needed.
$10 million to do nothing.
The thing is, like, they didn't really do anything at wide receiver. The Dolphins didn't really bring anyone in.
The wild card there is, I don't know, someone throw me the name because I've forgotten it, but there was this like late round or undrafted rookie guy who started out the season pretty hot, got injured, and then Devontae Parker took over. But he's back, and no one is entirely sure what he's going to do. But that's what's the biggest challenge to Parker. It's not so much his 4 years of uselessness as it is, what if this guy actually ends up being the top option in Miami?
Well, I'm going to start reading off names, and you tell me if I hit any of these. Preston Williams.
That's it.
Preston Williams, okay. So he's like right now. I mean, I know that depth charts don't mean anything at this point, but he's sitting behind Parker right now. But Parker just came off a big year, so I get why people are bidding him up, and that's kind of the reason why I wanted him in the Ben Wyatt league. But yeah, there's a lot of question marks around that, obviously.
No, it's interesting. Preston Williams is coming off an ACL tear. People don't even think about that anymore. Like, it wasn't even...
Yeah, that's a big injury.
Where someone got an ACL tear, Jamal Charles came back from it, and it was, like, remarkable. Because everyone just wrote off a player. Now someone has it, and they're like, okay, as soon as he comes back, he'll be fine. The difference over 10 years of what's happened with ACL surgery is remarkable.
Yeah. Like, ACL has become one that you can... It's like you've lost that guy. I'm talking from an NBA fan perspective where you see a lot of ACL tears. And guys who get ACL tears generally come back and they're okay. It's Achilles tendon, which is the one that could completely destroy your career, that you might never come back from.
Yeah, that's similar to football at this point, too.
Yeah, because it used to be, ACL tear, we've both had ACL tears. The high-level athletes that we are, the top 10 athletes that we both are. We both had ACL tears, and for experience, it's a bitch. You never quite feel comfortable with your knee ever again. Like, I play every sport now, 5 years out from having the tear and being 100% healthy with a brace on, because it doesn't, like, just mentally, just in your own head, you're like, I'm gonna fuck my knee up if I try and go real hard.
I don't think about my ACL much anymore, but the fact that they completely cleared out my meniscus, so it's just bone on bone now.
Really? That's what it is, meniscus? Oh,
I woke up from the surgery, and I was talked to by the doctor, and he was like, so, and this happened actually, okay, so let's go to a 1 minute history of Phil's knee.
Phil's knee history.
Phil's knee history. I tore my ACL, like, trying to impress some girl playing soccer by kicking the ball up to myself. Knee gone. and like, at the time, I knew I was in tremendous pain, but wasn't quite sure what happened. And I still was like, okay, I'll go home, I guess. Next morning, I wake up and I could barely move. I was like, maybe I should go see a doctor about this. So I go in, and they figure all that out. After that, though, my recommendation was like, are you an athlete? I'm like, I play sports, but I wouldn't call myself an athlete. And like, okay, so you probably don't need ACL surgery. People can, live without an ACL. It's fine. So I listened to that. And then over the next 3 years, tore my MCL because there's no other ligament supporting my knee.
Yeah.
4 or 5 times. One time I was in Germany, and I did it in their in the U-Bahn. And I went to a hospital in Germany. And I was annoyed at their incompetence, frankly. And thankfully, we don't have too many, if any, right-wing people in the league who are like, yeah, that's what you get with socialized medicine. I think it was just this one doctor.
There's a guy who left the league who was a right-winger.
But they have me come in, and they're taking these X-rays and stuff. They're like, we don't think there's. I can't walk at all. I can put no weight on. They're like, we don't think there's anything wrong. And this is the 4th time I've torn my MCL. I'm actually very familiar with what's happened at this point. And I'm like, no, the X-ray is not going to show you anything. You would need to do
you need an MRI.
Yeah, an MRI for it.
Yeah.
I've torn my MCL. I've done it before. This is the problem. And they're like, well, we don't see anything with the X-ray, so we think you're fine. I'm like, can I just have some crutches, please?
Yeah. We actually, you know what, Phil? We actually have live video of live footage of when you got your injury. So if you want to see it. Yeah, I mean, you can tell he took a real bad spill, and definitely it hurts. So
because I tore my MCL 4 or 5 times since I didn't get the ACL surgery, eventually I was like, okay, clearly I need this surgery because I keep tearing my other ligament because I haven't had it. I finally get it, but the damage that was done to my meniscus as a result of tearing my MCL several times without having an ACL was so severe that the doctor was just like, we just took out your meniscus. I'm like,
it's gone.
Well, yeah, what does that mean? They're like, we just cleared it out entirely. So you will.
Don't you need permission for that?
No, apparently not.
You can just take a piece of my knee.
No, the whole meniscus is now gone. So the doctor genuinely told me, you will get arthritis in that knee. I was like, oh, well, that sucks.
Thank you for that.
I'm just waiting for that. But
all you Americans who trash Canadian medicine, sometimes they just take your meniscus. So you might be right.
This might be payback for when we met for the first time to talk about the surgery. He was telling me how, oh yeah, I do the surgery for the Leafs, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he's technically one of the top ACL surgeons in Toronto.
Oh, for real? Wow.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, I do the Leaf surgery. I was like, is that I've watched the Leafs play hockey. Is that supposed to be a positive thing that you're responsible for that?
You're really trying to trash the Leafs ACL surgeon? You fucking dick. Hockey is designed to destroy your knees. The way that the skate moves, it's designed to destroy your knees. Anyone who works on hockey players is a top tier fucking ACL surgeon.
Well, my ACL is still fine. I just had.
Hey, there you go.
Let's take a look at the second round, Jack.
All right, let's jump into second round. Let me see. Here we go. So Wario kicked it off. Very proud of his pick. If I need to remind anybody, Stud got him at 2.01.
Again, I'm just gonna say complete bust, but like, I was wrong about DK Metcalf, so we'll see what happens.
He's got that size. What's going for T. Higgins is, it seems like they've, like, I mean, not, I don't know if the Bengals have, but the fantasy football people have given up on John Ross because of a lot of the injury history and whatnot. And I assume those are the minutes that T. Higgins jumps into. And he has kind of a lot of height and athleticism, obviously. So maybe he's very lanky. He needs to put on some size. Maybe he pulls some of those minutes and finds himself a role.
At best, he's still the third option in the passing game.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. It's just, they got Tyler Boyd and AJ Green. He's clearly.
Yeah, I'm not doubting that he's going to have some sort of opportunity. I just doubt him as a player. He can't really catch particularly well. He can't really run routes particularly well. His entire this is why my drafting was, he's tall. He's definitely tall, but that's essentially his whole game: jumping up and getting contested catches, out battling the cornerbacks with height. And there's only so far that takes you in the NFL.
Well, you might get red zone opportunities, though.
That's what I was going to say. The advantage for fantasy is that he might be an interesting red zone target for the Bengals, especially because they don't have a tight end of any notable value. So
CJ Uzoma?
They got to throw to somebody. Zach Moss, I think, was an interesting sixth running back off the board. Like, the top five were obvious. They went 5 in the first 5 picks. In mock drafts, usually Keshawn Vaughn goes as the next one. But by this point, there's a lot of hype behind Ronald Jones already, so I think he dropped a little bit. Again, A.J. Dillon, I think there's a lot of opportunity for him going forward. Zach Moss is going into a situation where, at best, he's always going to be in a platoon. I like him as a player, but the situation is just terrible. And I know the common thought is that you draft the player, you don't draft the situation, because the situation can change. But it's not like the situation is some like veteran running back who's been around forever. And
yeah.
The situation is a running back who was drafted last year, and did pretty well in his debut.
Yeah, like the situation you're describing would have been the situation that Devin Singletary was in last year with Frank Gore.
I've been giving myself shit for DK Metcalf. I'd like to point out, I also said when Devin Singletary was drafted, I was like, that's a really good pick. This is going to return value.
Yeah, and a guy that in the Ben Wyatt league that I think Cyril got at a very good clip. He signed Devin Singletary at 14.5. Considering what other running backs got, that is great goddamn value.
Singletary is the new Chris Carson. It's this running back who everyone disrespects because they did in the draft itself. Yeah. And it's not going to matter how much this guy puts up stats. People will still be like, hey, it's going to stop sometime. It's going to stop sometime. So, every time I'm doing like drafts now, Singletary goes later than he really should. And this is the rankings bitch in me that I don't draft him because I'm like, what am I missing here? What's wrong with this guy? No one else wants him. I guess I won't take him either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good point from Doug, I think, here.
I don't know. Green will be gone. I just don't like. I don't like him as a player. I think T. Higgins is just trash. It doesn't matter if he has opportunities. I think he's going to squander them, and they'll move on quickly.
Well, Doug, I agree with you from one point as the guy that bought this hat.
Buying a Bengals hat does not make you a Bengals expert.
It doesn't make me a Bengals expert, but I am rooting for them. I mean, it's go Birds first, always. But Bengals are my kind of like. I kind of would like to see them do well, and I feel like I'm getting in on this team when they're in the midst of a rebuild and they're looking to go forward. But yeah, I think that's a decent point. It depends on what happens with Ross. Honestly, I feel like the Bengals still have a lot of faith in Ross. So if because he's real goddamn quick and he fits that mold of that third receiver. And he had a lot of, like, people forget how much hype there was around Ross before, like, injury history and things like that. Like, did he ever really underperform when he was unhealthy?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if you mean when he was healthy, because when he was unhealthy, of course he, but yeah, when he was healthy.
Inconsistent quarterback play, who knows? I am rooting for you on the case of the Bengals. I am not rooting for you because Doug is the guy that I kind of have to compete for a playoff spot. Maybe. If he wins the division, I don't.
As he was last year.
What's that, buddy?
Mark might not be as dominant as he was last year.
We said that last year. I have given up thinking that Mark is not going to be good because fucking Mark is always good. So I gotta compete with Chris Perkins and Doug Yon, depending on which one of them is doing better.
The interesting thing is drafting a team out of like nothing. Mark is currently ranked 15th in our league.
He's got a weird team. Like the Ennis Cordy Electric Eels. Let me read off this roster, if I may. Aaron Rodgers as your QB. I guess your top two running backs would be. He's kind of in your position.
He did the same thing I did, just worse.
He's got what? Philip Lindsay and who else? Like Duke Johnson? Who's the other starting running back?
I don't know.
Rashard Petty? No, I don't think so. He likes Seattle, apparently, because he got Marley Mack as a starting. Let's see. DeAndre Hopkins, great catch at wide receiver. Alshon Jeffrey, this is a weird team. No defense. Zero defense.
Don't have any defense yet.
Zero. It's the only team that has zero defense, by the way.
He spent $160 million so far with no defense, no real running backs.
Yeah. He spent the most money at wide receiver, and these are his wide receivers. Michael Gallup, DeAndre Hopkins, Alshon Jeffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Denzel Mims, Rashard Perriman, Calvin Ridley, and Cortland Sutton.
I mean, it's a good core of receivers. I'm not going to disagree with that. His receiver is currently, according to my projections, ranked third in the league.
Yeah.
So
how's his tight ends looking? Because he's signed a bunch of tight ends, and he's leading that with George Kittle. So that's got to be pretty high up.
Second in the league.
Yeah. So, I mean, Mark gets points.
Yeah, the reason he's currently ranked 15th is he just has an F on his defense because
he's got no defense. Yeah.
So his offense is ranked 5th. So, I mean, that's before we actually get back to these rankings, let's just finish off the second round.
Let's do it.
Your favorite pick in terms of value in the second round.
In the second round for me?
Yeah, favorite value pick here.
We're talking about in terms of what you call fantasy points for next year, or like just
long term. Let's say long term best pick relative to position.
Long term best pick. I've always had a soft spot for Justin Herbert, who went late, and is going to be a starting quarterback for years to come. I like Chenault as well. I'm going to go to Patrick Queen.
Queen's 211. Yeah, the question, like the fact that he went after Murray and Simmons when normally he's considered the top linebacker to come off the board, definitely good value. The one I want to draw attention to here is Bryan Edwards.
Brian Edwards.
My views of the Raiders have been very well established, but I really like Edwards as a talent. Getting him at 210, I think, is pretty good.
Look at that. Khalil completely agrees. This was like a while back. This was before we started talking about the second round.
Okay, well, there you go. So, I mean, it's his pick, so I would hope he agrees, but like,
I mean, like, that's interesting that you picked him out as the guy.
Yeah, I think if the once the Raiders move on from Derek Carr, I think they probably have a pretty decent receiver core that they could utilize. I don't think in year one he's going to do well, so I'd recommend to a lot of people, get this guy after he does nothing in year one.
Get him cheap.
Get him cheap, and I think he has potential once they move on from Carr. But like right now, he's not going to do a lot. But that'd be my pick for the worst one, by the way. As much as Mark keeps showing us that he knows what he's doing, Quintez Cephas at 2.15.
That is a reach, though, man.
Yeah,
I thought this guy would go way later.
Yeah, he's one of those picks where if you're in like the 4th or 5th round, you're like, you know what, this guy might get the opportunity. Like, he was taken late in the draft, but the Lions have a lot of guys with coming out of like their contracts. He was drafted basically entirely upon situation because he'll have an opportunity. But the fact that he was taken so late in the NFL draft means there's a lot of question about his talent. But to take him at 2.15, that is a huge reach in my mind.
I thought I might have a shot at Quinton Cephas at like my late picks.
I mean, people who aren't in this league, show the list again, Jam, and the people who aren't in the league, best and worst pick of the second round. Let's get some opinion.
Second round, best and worst picks. Do you have yours? I mean, you've already said yours in mind.
Yeah.
I don't know about my worst. I feel like I have to agree with you though on Quintez.
I'm also pretty high on Ayuk, but like at 2.03, that's not far out of where he's supposed to be.
Yeah. I'd be fine with Ayuk at like he'd go between 2.03 and 2.1. I think somewhere in there, right? And I think that's a fine pick. It's considering. Well, the weird thing though is like, does San Francisco continue to be like this run-heavy team with Mozart kind of leading the way? Does that hurt fantasy value for receivers? It's a interesting position to be in, but I liked him as a prospect.
Definitely. Anyway,
look how many trades we get. Holy shit! I'm just looking at the last column here.
This was I posted the draft on Reddit, and one of the first comments anyway was like, "How are there so many trades?" I'm like, "We're an active and incredibly bored league, apparently."
we are very bored. Yeah.
I think more trade.
Denver is saying best is T or Herbert. I'd agree with the Herbert side.
I mean, Higgins.
I feel very good about Herbert.
Higgins is usually somewhere around 2.01. That's surprising.
Yeah, I just don't. There's just a lot of questions around that one. Is that like, I don't actually know what's going through Cincinnati's minds. What's going through Zach Taylor's mind is like, is John Ross gonna get that opportunity, or is T. Higgins gonna take it over?
The fact that they drafted him implies to me that they've decided Ross's role is to come in 4 wide sets and just burn up the field. Yeah, just like take. Yeah. That's what they're going to be using him as at this point. Any other takes, or is Denver the only one still paying attention?
I don't see any hot. Denver's asking who has them in Ben Wyatt. Who's got them in Ben Wyatt? T. Higgins was a guy that I thought I could get cheap, and I did not. So I just got out of it. I think he got signed.
He did.
He got signed by the San Diego Hopheads from David. No. Sorry. The Gamblers. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. For 2.9, not too bad. Still, considering like you don't know. Well, what would his rookie scale be at 2.01?
Stress this enough. It takes time for everything except like the most elite picks usually to do anything. And these guys can't be extended. So, like, 2.9 is not bad. But like, what do you do with him? Best case scenario, he breaks out and then you're done with him. Like,
well, Doug agrees. Doug agrees with your picks.
I don't know with
with your top second rounders. That's fine. I guess I know why he said T or Herbert.
That makes a lot of sense.
Well, you know what? The gamblers have a reputation for just sniping people's picks, and currently have the biggest roster, I believe.
Oh yeah, their roster is full. They're
26 players. Oh, hold on.
Players. They need to cut 4 guys.
Holy fuck! Are you? How did Denver? How did you sign 44 players?
Yeah, especially given every time I try to get someone cheap, someone will come in and bid on them just for the sake of bidding on them.
No one's even close. How did he get 44 players? That's crazy. Good for you, man. Fill it out. Fill it out, dog. Holy shit.
So I guess I can't share my ranking screen. Actually, how do I share this with you? I'm going to send you a link in.
You can send me if it's an image. I can put it up.
Okay,
you want me as an image? Yeah, I can. Put it up.
What sort of like
anything, any kind of image file? It doesn't matter. Right. Just send it to me. I'll load it up into the screen. But I mean, while we're doing that, holy shit! Who do you have, Denver? You got 4 quarterbacks?
So here's the downside for what Denver has done. Their defense, incredible. Currently ranked first, and we'll bring this up in a second. Their offense is ranked 13th. Overall, 8-5, still in a playoff position, but that's with a full roster, whereas other people's records are going to be improving, and as a result of other people's records improving, it'll bring Denver's record down. So it's sort of like, I think the good news is most people are like in contention outside of a few teams that just Oakland, teams that are just really terrible. Most teams look like it's like 7-6, 7-6. Like there's a ton of people at 7-6, 6-7. So just one win either way. It seems like most teams are going to be in contention, which makes sense when you're coming out of like a draft like this, right?
Yeah.
So even the best teams in the league, you're only going to get a very few difference in points. Like the discrepancy in total points between the best and worst team currently.
All right, so here we
is about 700 points. Okay, we got them up now. So
Denver's team, for the people who don't know, is the Las Vegas Gamblers.
Yeah, look at that here. First-ranked defense. That thing is solid.
Yeah.
But, what did he do with his wide receivers that they are ranked 16th in the entire league? Let's take a look here. You keep that up. I'll list off his wide receivers. His top option is either Christian Kirk or Deebo Samuel, depending on what you want. But those are his definite 1-2. Number 3 is either Randall Cobb, Larry Fitzgerald, or T. Higgins.
Oof, bad choices, bad options.
You can see where the ranking is coming in.
My God, this is not a good wide receiver. He's got a fairly decent running back situation. I mean, I was Evan Kamara being the star of that, but then like who is the RB2? Sorry, I got bounced from the broadcast, Phil. Did you already talk about running backs?
Not yet. His running backs, his number one is
Breda. Yeah, Kamara, Breda, Darrell Henderson, Kerryon Johnson, I guess, for the beginning of the year.
Yeah, until he gets replaced.
Yeah.
But yeah,
this is a weird position to be in.
His offense, admittedly, his rank makes sense. Like, not to toot my own horn, but at the same time, yeah, to toot my own horn. These rankings, like, it's going to be hard to argue with them. If you think your ranking sucks, fine. But look at other teams. That is going to be the best way of determining this because you're going to be biased towards your own team. Look at other teams and see if you're like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, or no, this doesn't make any sense at all. Like I know, Kevin was giving me shit about everything in the history of time, but also these rankings.
Yeah.
But Kevin, if you ignore own team's rankings and look at other people, see how they make sense. Because I'm not putting any of my judgment into any of this other than waiting. I will tell people, because I've explained this to the other league before, the only judgment that's involved, and it's been sort of calibrated by checking to see how the initial projections work against the final results. The only judgment is how much weight I give to backup players versus starting players. So that was a bit of a guess that has worked out pretty well. But the projections of stats has nothing to do with me. I'm pulling them from other sites. So, you can disagree with whatever, but I don't blame me for any of the projections.
Well, I mean, like Denver's, what do you project at? We had Las Vegas projecting at 8-5. Not much money left for improvement per Denver himself. So
not many roster spots left for improvement. It's the bigger problem.
yeah, that's true. I mean, you got 8. Like, explain the difference between FOMFA and Ben White in terms of the drop rule, like in terms of off season.
Yeah. So in FOMFA, basically, we have a rule where if someone is making less than $1 million, you can cut them without penalty.
950, baby.
Yeah,
got a bunch of 950s.
That's what happened. Like as I've mentioned to a lot of people, what the BWAFF league was intending on doing is it took everything about the other league where I was like, you know what? If I could do this differently, I would change this about it. But trying to change rules and getting majority consent, it's a nightmare. So I just started a new league and did what I wanted to do with it. And this is the one rule where I think there's a good chance that eventually FOMFA votes and decides to adopt this. Because being the first to bid in an auction and be like, I set my max to 950, that's ridiculous. It's basically just time-based. Whoever happens to nominate a player and set their max to 950 so they can cut him without penalty. It's this ridiculous thing where there's no logic behind it. But you get all these players who will get $950,000 contracts so that they can be cut. And no one wants to go to $1 million because they don't want to guarantee their contract at this point. So the difference
I love that rule. I love it. Because I'm first in that auction. I'm first in the first fucking 3 minutes of the auction. I've bid 25 players, a bunch of 950s.
So the difference in these leagues here is, well, that's how it works in that there are no free cuts beyond that. In FOMFA, you can cut players under $1 million. If they're over $1 million, you get no relief. That's just what you get. What we did in BWAFF, I still like saying BWAFF, but
I like BWAFF.
BWAFF. Basically, I was like, I want to avoid this random number people can bid on, and then there's a huge when they go to something else. So instead of having a specific number, we set it so that you get $8 million in free cuts. Every salary is guaranteed. You have to pay it out. You still get like the 50% if you cut them in off season, et cetera, et cetera. But there's no free cut thing. So even if mid-season you drop someone who's like making $350,000, there we go. You have someone who's making $350,000. Unlike in FOMFA, where it's like you can cut them, pick up someone else, no impact on anything. If you cut someone making $350,000 mid-season, you're still paying them that money in BWAFF.
Yeah.
But the difference is you get $8 million to just distribute amongst your cuts as like credit. So it could be on several $350,000 players to be sort of similar to the way we do things in FOMFA. It could be just like, shit, I have this $8 million guy and I don't want him on my team. Let's get rid of him.
Get him off.
All your $350,000 contracts that you would cut throughout the season for new free agents and stuff, all of them you've got to pay. So the $8 million was really arbitrary. I just looked at what I thought was an approximate amount of turnover over the course of the season that we had in FOMFA. I thought it was about $8 million and stuck that in and all of that. But I really think this is a better way of doing things. We'll see if I'm right.
Arbitrary. Scranton's going to come after you, man.
I say arbitrary, but it's not actually that arbitrary. I actually looked into what roughly an average amount that was. Denver wants that credit. That's the way.
You'll get the credit. You'll get the credit. Just cut your guys. Cut your guys, Denver.
So the other interesting thing that I actually learned recently that I should tell people in BWAFF is the value of a first down. So when you're looking at rankings, first downs don't come into play because this is extremely unusual that a league has first downs as part of the scoring. So when you get projections for stats for these like team projections that I'm doing, first downs isn't an option, but I need to actually use them to figure out how many points someone is going to get. So what I ended up doing with this is I looked into the history of different positions and figured out if you're a running back, how many first downs does the average running back get relative to the amount of carries they get running the ball? How many first downs do they get relative to the amount of receptions they get? Similarly with receivers, similarly with tight ends, I've done all of this. So the amount of first downs that a running back will receive per carry is 0.36. So roughly every 3 carries a running back has, they are going to get a first down on average. I'm sure different running backs are different, but I can't take this into account. So this is what I was saying. Yeah, so sure, fine. So that's what that is. But if you look at like a wide receiver catching the ball, for instance, they're usually going further than the running backs are, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, makes sense.
So when you look at wide receiver points, I'm taking the receptions times 0.82, which means given that the receptions themselves are 0.5, that leaves 0.32. And since they're worth 0.5, it means that you're getting 0.64 of a first down per average reception at wide receiver. So it'll be interesting to see how this actually plays out because I'm doing my best to account for this in the projections, but projections themselves don't have first down. Yeah. So this is going to be a bit of a thing to deal with. The other thing about the BWAFF projections, they're based on overall points being similar to FOMFA. I don't have years of data to say, okay, here's what an average season gets. Let's normalize things to this, et cetera, et cetera. So they may be a little more off than FOMFA is, but I don't think they'll be terribly off. But if you bring up those projections again, let's look at some of the best and worst teams.
Best and worst teams. All right. So this is we're looking at BWAFF. Do you have a comparable version of this for FOMFA? Based on what the team looks like right now. I know it's a little weird in FOMFA because we're right in the middle of the draft. Maybe we do that on the next episode.
This too.
Maybe we do that in the next episode because we've got by that time we'll have at least some people signed.
Yeah. Beyond that, like I need to make some updates in that sheet.
Yeah. Okay. Let's stick with BWAFF. Next episode, stay tuned. FOMFA. We'll look at a little bit of whatever the projections are at the time, because some people would have signed by then.
But you'll see. The majority of teams are between 6 and 7, 7 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. We're going from scratch here. It makes sense that all our teams should be relatively about equal.
Except for South Philly is doing pretty well. I just want to point out.
South Philly is doing pretty well. And unlike my team where I actually don't trust the rating at all, I do trust the rating with your team. Your team looks good according to my gut. You've got a good balance on your team. It's not like my team where it's wide receiver heavy and I got to trust I can get some points out of the running backs. You've got, Aaron Jones and Derrick Henry at running back. You've got Julio Jones, Tyler Lockett, Robert Woods at wide receiver. Carson Wentz, if he stays healthy, is a...
Woo! Even if he doesn't stay healthy. I got my put Jalen Hurts ready to come in.
I don't like Austin Hooper, who you got as your tight end, but we'll see how he does.
Well, what was I going to do, man? There's no other tight ends at that level available for under 10 mil.
Levante David, Joe Schobert, Kevin King. Like, you have a good – I can't argue with any of this. This looks solid. And if you don't have at least compete for the playoffs this year, you are officially cursed in fantasy football.
But did you talk about my most important free agent signing? Let me just show you a little bit of something.
What's your name? Alexander Madison. My name is Alexander Madison. There's a million things I haven't done. Just you wait. Just you wait.
Just you wait.
How long were you waiting to put that into this?
To be completely honest, I just loaded that in because I did not realize you're talking about it. But I really enjoyed putting that together. I'm happy I got him. Awesome. And I will add to the people in the Ben White League, one of the best experiences of my life watching all of them.
Yeah, I'm not crazy. It's an amazing.
It is. It is. Holy shit! How much information you get in 2.5 hours. Anyways,
there are some things that are wrong, and I can tell you about what those are. But do you ever watch the ending of it?
I have not yet.
Okay.
I'm watching it in the worst way possible. This is the reality of anyone who has like young kids. Is like you don't get any time to yourself. So like I'm watching Hamilton in like segments, and it's been awesome, but it's annoying. I really do just want to watch a movie from beginning to end, but it's not possible.
So this is where I've given your team credit.
All right, thank you. I appreciate
my
it.
Team.
All
I don't actually like my team that much, but the projections say I'm going to do well, so we'll see how it goes. But
I actually don't like. I believe in the projections on your team because like
I believe
you've been harping a lot on the lack of the lack of running backs because that's a big part of fantasy. It's a big part of fantasy. I'm not denying that. But you solidified yourself in basically every other position when everyone else was going after running backs.
And just got every other position instead.
But that's a very important. That's a very interesting distinction. Is that people were going after running backs so harshly that within 48 hours you signed really good defense. Like the best wide receivers, solid quarterbacks. So
I'm sorry, well, I guess they're not elite, but the combination of Brady and Ryan, that's a good stream.
Brady's going to be the best quarterback next year.
We're right now. I was pointing this out to Jam yesterday. Actually, the projections have them for the exact same amount of points, down to 3 decimals. To the point that I spent 10, 15 minutes yesterday trying to figure out where my formulas were wrong, that they were pulling from the wrong thing. But they weren't. It's just that the projections ended up being the exact same amount of fantasy points.
Look, Tom Brady with weapons? Come on, man. I know you're not a big fan of Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to play something. Look at that. The Coopers are going to do well. Them Coopers are going to do well. I'm just saying.
We'll see. I'm going to be frustrated picking which of my idiot running backs every week to start, and I'm going to make the wrong decision constantly.
Yes, you will.
And I'll probably do the wrong decision at quarterback, too, which will be annoying. But maybe I have a chance. Who knows? The other good teams that we should check out here.
Yeah. Let me put it back up. Sorry. Here we go.
What do we got here? We got Las Vegas, but we've sort of covered them a bit, and the problem is like they're full.
I do like what Las Vegas has been doing. Even though I'm not a fan of how they did it, because I've been a victim of their last-minute snipes. But they've been able to sign a full roster, which is insane in the time that we've had.
Yeah, but they've been able to sign a full roster because they snipe people, and everyone is like, fuck it, I'm not going to pay that guy more money. That's ridiculous.
They've got 5 coaches. 5 coaches are on Las Vegas.
Yeah, the Zach Taylor is going to be dropped. Like
and 4 quarterbacks.
Really?
The only one of which that I agree should be dropped is Tyrod Taylor, because he got Tyrod Taylor and Justin Herbert,
that's just so that he has San Diego essentially.
What's that?
So he has San Diego's quarterback. It's going to start off the season.
Yeah. But like that does not make sense when you also have Josh Allen and Russell Wilson. You can't use any of those guys.
There's no reason to have Tyrod Taylor on the roster.
Yeah. So you cut Tyrod Taylor.
You're never going to start him.
And you're not going to start Justin Herbert until mid-season, or at least 4 or 5 games in.
For at least a year.
Well, I mean, like
Russell Wilson and Josh Allen. You're not starting her.
No, I get that, but I mean, like the earliest that you would start a Justin Herbert would be like 5-6 games in, right? When he gets the official starting nod. Obviously, if you have better players, you wouldn't do that. But like once he gets the official starting nod, then he becomes a starting quarterback in the NFL. But right now he's got Tyrod Taylor, so you've just given up on Glass at this point. Fucking wide is about having it in a glass, Phil.
Fine.
Jesus. You want me to just start chugging this? I mean,
I don't care. You're my boss for the next week. You can do what you want.
yeah, side note for everyone on the chat. I am actually
off my rental car because I did this tonight.
side note, I am Phil's boss for like the next week. So it's gonna get weird. I'm gonna do some weird things. But yeah, 4 quarterbacks. I mean, attaboy, Denver, for filling out your team, but you're cutting one of these fucking guys. I'm assuming it's Tyrod Taylor.
Who are the other 8 and 5 teams?
8 and 5 teams. Let's go back. Let's pull them up. Here we go. 8 and 5. So we've got Washington Redskin Potatoes. Let's talk about the Washington Redskin Potatoes because I've got a bit of experience with the cereal handle.
You mean the Washington football team Potatoes?
Redskin Potatoes. He chose his team before it all happened.
Spuds on the warp. I do like that it made like him and Mark became like a default rivalry when no one else
weird.
And I was like, okay, we have a potato team and a dude from Ireland. Well, clearly this is the Spud Bowl.
Spud Bowl. Oh yeah.
And then Mark, I don't think he actually took offense, but he's like, You're just calling it the Spud Bowl because I'm from Ireland, and I'm like, yeah, I have an Irish background. I can get away with this.
You're allowed to, yeah. It's a weird situation. Mark can't really pull one over on you because you have Irish blood, so you can be as Irish racist as you want.
I'm trying to find a clip for you to play.
About the potatoes?
Pretty much. It's called the classic Irishman's dilemma.
Well, send it to me. I'm trying to get it out there.
Let's see if you.
All right. So currently we got Washington at 8 and 5. What do you think about the Washington team?
Let's take a look. Sorry, I was just finding the clip I wanted to send you there. So, you got Pat Mahomes, so one of the most solid quarterbacks.
Good.
I would not have paid him $28 million. Yes, he's good, but there have been very few quarterbacks throughout history who have sustained a level above the general good level of QBs, which were getting paid like $12, $15 million.
Yeah.
So that seems a little much for me. But yeah, without question, he's going to be a good quarterback. Fournette, David Johnson, Mixon, Singletary. Cyril is a team that I tried. He has an insane amount of running backs. I was like, hey, your wide receivers look a little weak. Maybe we could make a trade, but he's not interested. So he's going to go into the season. He's going to go into the season with 1 million running backs and no wide receivers. I'm going to go into the season with 1 million wide receivers and no running backs. Interesting enough, we're both projected to be 2 of the top teams in the league. So,
well, it's interesting because, that's what I thought about his team too. But I feel like at some point you guys are going to work somewhere. I don't want to be accused of collusion.
You can't collude when you're not responsible for Cyril's team.
I feel like at some point you're going to work something out. Because it doesn't make sense otherwise. It just doesn't make sense otherwise, right?
Yeah. Like, Devin Singletary is never going to see the light of day for Cyril's team. He's just going to sit there. It's a huge waste, but.
And at a great goddamn value. If I was Cyril, I would not be trading that as the player. I'd be trading one of the other guys.
I offered him Tyreek Hill for Joe Mixon and got declined.
He traded me Joe Mixon in the other league. But I don't know. He's got a thing for Joe Mixon. I can give him that. So
the reason, like, my view on this team is it's not bad, but I think it's still going to end up in one of those 7-6, 6-7 level teams because Cyril has also spent pretty much his entire division. You'll see his payroll is at $186 million at the moment, so he doesn't have a lot of room left.
Yeah,
where a lot of his competitors, still have $20 million less, and they can spend some stuff, upgrade their teams a bit. So, we'll see how it does, but I think that running back heavy strategy is not going to pay out because you just can't start them. I mean, eventually people get injured, sure, but like that weakness at wide receiver, I think is going to hurt him.
Yeah, he went real hard at the wide receivers. At the running backs, and it's going to definitely hurt him. But it depends on how savvy he is. This comes down to savviness, because Cyril, in my experience, at least in FOMFA, Cyril is one of the few guys that is actually very fair. He makes realistic trade offers. This is something I learned from you, Phil.
Is a joy. He knows what he's doing. You're not going to rip him off, but he also there's a difference between people who know what they're doing and people who know what they're doing but don't act like you know what you're doing. Cyril is like someone who knows what he's doing, but also respects the fact that you know what you're doing and will give you a reasonable trade. It may be something that requires a bit of tweaking, but it's not something that you'll just laugh at and throw out. It'll always be something that you consider. Whereas too often there are a lot of teams who will just straight up disrespect you and send you a trade where you're just like, I'm not even going to counter this. This is just complete bullshit. I've never gotten a bullshit offer from Cyril.
And I do completely respect that, because he wanted Kyler Murray last year real bad. And I had the pick, and I picked Kyler Murray, and he just came and said, "Listen, if you want to, I want Kyler Murray. I'm willing to put up Joe Mixon, top 10 running back," and made that part of the deal. And it was like, all right, so this guy's here to game, and he's here to get his player, and he's putting up an offer that makes sense. That's been the biggest challenge about for those that don't know and will know real soon. I'm pretty new to this. I'm 3 years in. 3 years in. This is my third year. Third season of fantasy football.
Second year.
Try and take advantage of me up in. I love this shit. I really do love this shit. It's become. It's still a very close second to basketball as my favorite sport. But that's only because Toronto has a basketball team and we are the champions.
You're still trying to find a football team. Well, you're rooting for the Eagles because you're I'm
a Birds guy. I feel like I'm a Birds guy. Hat. I will always, at this point, will always be a Birds guy. Yeah, but I am rooting for the Bengals because I have in FOMFA. I've got I had AJ Green. I now have Tyler Boyd. I kind of like rooting for a team that's at way in the bottom, way in the bottom, and let's see what they get to. But I'm an Eagles guy.
So you're saying you're rooting
Philly teams.
For both leagues.
What's that, buddy?
So you're rooting for Jason in both leagues.
What's Jason at?
The bottom.
I'm looking for the bottom of the Eagles and the Bengals. I'm not looking for the bottom in general.
The Eagles are not the bottom. The Eagles have been in the playoffs.
That's what I'm saying. Whoever you have on your team on the Eagles, for example, Alshon Jeffrey. If you sign Alshon Jeffrey, you don't believe much in that player. He's at the bottom of your rankings. Yeah, but I still root for Alshon.
I root for him. I just don't have high expectations.
I believe in Carson Wentz. Not that much because I signed Jalen Hurts, but I believe in Carson Wentz.
Jalen Hurts is never going to do shit. Carson Wentz is definitely the starter going forward.
I will say I've been to 2 Eagles games, never in Philadelphia. One in Dallas, one in Buffalo. And in Buffalo, half that stadium was Philly fans.
That's true. In Buffalo, people would start
goddamn beautiful
song after touchdowns.
We were looking up at Buffalo people in Buffalo saying, "Oh, I guess you guys suck. I guess you fucking stink." And they were just like, "We can't do anything because there's fucking half the stadium will kick our ass."
Philly fans are brutal too.
They just bash you out. What are you gonna do?
Before we move on to South Park, can you play my Irish clip for the Spud Bowl?
I only got the audio, which is kind of a pain in the ass. But
what do you mean? How do you not have video?
Well, I gotta download the video. If it's gonna show up here, I gotta download the video. Unfortunately,
the audio is fine. The video doesn't add much.
All right, let me try and get that audio on. We'll talk about something else. Do we have anyone else from the rankings that we want to talk about? How about the very low?
South Park. South Park is the next team. Before we go to the low one, we haven't actually talked about your rival.
My rival.
Your
I'm feeling good about my rival right now, actually.
Feeling good because this is one of the better ranked teams in the league.
All right.
I'm feeling good because 2 out of the 4 people in my division are some of the bottom ranked teams, so that makes me happy. But South Park is one of the better teams. You got Lamar Jackson at quarterback, and then a bunch of idiots. But he's got Lamar Jackson at quarterback. His running backs are Raheem Mostert and Ronald Jones.
Are you sure he's a good team?
We'll see. But, like, Raheem Mostert is someone I've been trying to get in every league until we got to, like, 16 million in this one. I'm like, okay, fuck that. But, like, he performed extremely well for the 49ers. And when they traded away Breda, that really gave them some confidence in him. I think he's going to have a great season, but there's still too many question marks in terms of like, okay, well, maybe this is part of the system. Maybe they put in Coleman a lot. Maybe they put in McKinnon, which no one is really expecting. Like you never know what San Francisco is going to do. So some question marks there. Ronald Jones, I talked about a bit in chat once. There's a lot of hype coming out about him, but there has been for a while now. The biggest issue Ronald Jones is going to face in my mind is the fact that he's brutal at pass protection. He's just genuinely terrible at it. And how long is Tom Brady just going to accept getting his ass sacked before he tells someone to replace Ronald Jones? So
he just tells somebody, listen, replace Ronald Jones. I don't like this guy.
Now, at the same time, he sort of hedged his bets here because he has Keyshawn Vaughn as well. So if Ronald Jones is like, get this guy on the bench, well, Keyshawn Vaughn comes in. But that's also not necessarily positive because they only have 4 running backs on this team. The other one is Naeem Hines. And running back is the most likely position to get injured. So only having 4 at this point, 2 of which are basically replacements of each other, there's not a lot of depth here. But, he'll start out well. I mean, the team is based around Lamar Jackson. At wide receiver, you've got Cooper Kupp, you've got Edelman. Emmanuel Sanders, I think, is a good get for $6.5 million. It's been a while since Drew Brees had a second option. So we'll see how that goes for him. Russell Gage, John Ross, I don't really like those options, but they are what they are. It's got a great defensive line between Frank Clark, Joey Bosa, DeForest Buckner. He's got 3 solid options here, but he is paying for them all.
He's paying good for them.
Linebacker, Jalen Smith, Fred Warner, Devin White. It's a great linebacker combo. He's got Jamal Adams and Minka Fitzpatrick at safety. He can only start 4 of Jalen Smith, Fred Warner, Devin White, Jamal Adams, Minka Fitzpatrick. One of those guys has to be on the bench in any given week. So
here's to him realizing that's not the reality.
I would say so. Like looking at that team, I would not be surprised to see South Park as one of the top defenses here. Top defense. What were they in my ranking? They were second. They were the second defense behind Las Vegas. So
are we ready to see the video that you sent me?
I hope so. If you're ready to play it,
let's do it.
Well, Mum, it's just at Christmas the tenants usually give me a small consideration for the work I do all year keeping up the building. We surely count on it, Mum, especially this year as we had more than the usual medical bills.
Your point being?
Well, it's just that for the 3rd year running, you give me a potato.
Oh, dear. So once again you're faced with the classic Irishman's dilemma. Do I eat the potato now or let it ferment so I can drink it later?
Will I get the operation now, Dad?
No, son. You're gonna die.
As someone with Irish heritage, I reference that classic Irishman's dilemma as well.
It's a dilemma. What are you going to do?
Or do you wait for it to ferment so you can drink it later?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so those are the good teams.
Okay.
Let's talk about the bad.
I'm not a fan, before you move on,
Yeah.
of Chris Back being a good team.
He'll find a way to fuck it up.
Like, this is not making me feel good. Because, like, what are we looking at? Where are these cows at?
Okay, 8 and 5. Now, here's the
That's
thing
bullshit.
Here's the thing that'll make you feel better.
All right.
Chris's problem in the other league historically has not necessarily been an evaluation of talent. It's been an evaluation of the value of draft picks and the value of contracts.
Or just the value of players in general.
Not necessarily the value of players in general. It's these other things that are sort of, I think, they're causing issues. But here we're in the auction period where it's just like all you need to do is understand how these players can do, and he's doing well. I'll give him credit. He's developed a good team. Offense is not great, but the defense is so solid that he's definitely going to be a competitor here. He just needs to make sure not to fuck it up, I guess.
Here's to hoping.
So the interesting thing is on the low end of the league, we have 3 teams here. I wish I could say Scranton after.
No, I disagree, dog. It is not the revenge of Chris Back.
No one knows how to spell Chris's name, I think. In my phone,
it's just B-A-C-K.
Well, here's the thing. What, like, his email or something didn't have a K on it, so I thought it was just B-A-C. So that's how he's in my phone.
Is this a mystery?
Hmm?
All right, Chris, come on. Tell us how you spell your back name.
It's B-A-C-K. That's his name. I just at some point maybe he just made a typo, and I just like
revenge.
So we have 3 teams that are not looking to compete this year. I'm sure they'll argue, and we could have a 4th team into here too. But the worst team, and where we're going to start, is with Oakland.
Oh, Jason, who's camping right now? No, Jason will be active, but he's in the wilderness, so he cannot jump in.
Because Oakland, I looked at what they were doing early. I liked it. I thought they were doing well. When they signed Derek Carr, I was like, okay, he's your backup, right? No, apparently not. And the problem is he just hasn't signed anyone. Like, he spent $160 million and it looked fine, but then he didn't do anything else. So he's starting Derek Carr. After Josh Jacobs, Miles Sanders is like solid, but you're paying those guys a combined $55 million and you have no depth behind them at all. Good luck finding depth at this point. So
there you go. That's his team right now. That's his team that he signed.
Yeah. One of them gets hurt. One of them goes on a bye week. He's fucked. On the receivers, it's like, yeah, Mike Evans, solid, but there are questions in terms of, like, Brady is likely to go to Godwin a lot more than Evans based on Brady's play style. Juju, there's some questions in terms of he's had great seasons, he's had useless seasons, as evidenced by that 100.6 points there. What's going to happen? Giving Henry Ruggs $14 million. Who bid Henry Ruggs up other than Jason? Because
Henry Ruggs went like nuts for a minute there, but like 14.5. Oh, holy shit!
Yeah, he is the highest wide receiver rookie. He's over CeeDee Lamb and Judy. Like, he really gave him a lot of money there. Josh, like the guys he signed, other than the Raiders, who he overvalues and fine, whatever.
He's a Raiders guy.
Yeah, again, he's going to overvalue the Raiders. But other than the Raiders, he signed a good team, but he's at 15 players. He has no depth at all. And that's, I think, where my rankings are penalizing him. He gets an F for tight ends because he doesn't have one. He gets an F for offensive flex because...
Coming up, we talk
shit.
What are you doing?
Sorry. My bad, guys. Sorry, I'm not being a good producer right now.
He's got an F at tight ends because he doesn't have one. F at offensive flex because he doesn't have one. F at quarterbacks because he only kind of has one. Like, it's not good.
Let's put that team up back up again. What do we think?
I really had high hopes when he started this, but then he hasn't done anything in seemingly like a week. So
yeah, I'm not sure Jason's approach, because in FOMFA, for those in Ben Wyatt that don't know, Jason had to take over one of the worst teams in league history.
oh yeah, it was brutal.
Like, it was a team that has had like basically a new owner every year, right, Phil? If I'm not
Bill Jason, it was replaced every year.
And every year is a team that would trade like a first round pick to get something, because they're the first of the year and they want to make some noise. But it was always the most like inconsistent owners possible. And from the people in Ben Wyatt that have realized at this point, we're a pretty active league. Like, Ben Wyatt and FOMFA are both pretty active leagues. So it's tough to be the guy that does not participate in that. And Jason had to take over the team that did not participate in that. So he was kind of given this whole kind of benefit of the doubt. You are part of the team that nobody wanted, that made a lot of bad decisions, that traded Phil, the number 1 overall pick, that got him Saquon Barkley for who? Phil, tell us, please, who you got for Saquon Barkley at the end of the day?
So,
yes,
Alex Collins.
Who the fuck is that?
At the time, he was coming off a season where he was doing well for the Ravens. Let me just make it clear. I'm not I knew when he offered me this trade, by the way.
That's a very important point to make. It's not that Phil tried to fuck over a guy who doesn't know what he's doing. Phil got made the offer. He just accepted it.
Yeah, I was actually in a bridge club because I'm an old person at the time, and I got this offer, and I was worried by the time bridge club ended that he would have rescinded it. So literally, as soon as it ended, I picked up my phone and was like mashing accept. But Alex Collins, but the advantage, he was doing well at the time. He was young, but didn't have a lot of history, didn't have a lot of draft capital. I want to say Jordan Howard, but it might have been some other idiot
I think it was Jordan Howard.
It was some Miami running back at the time. It may not have been Howard. It might have been someone who's not even in the league anymore.
No, but Tom had Jordan Howard for a good while, so I feel like it was Jordan Howard.
So if Tom had him, why does that doesn't help?
Oh, no, it wasn't Tom. My bad.
I think it was someone else entirely, but it was some Miami running back that back when Saquon was drafted was coming off a decent season. And that was basically it. It was basically like 2 running backs who were coming off of decent seasons, but don't have a lot of history, but were cheap. Contracts are key in this league. They were cheap, coming off good years. Again, I'm not trying to...
Doug might be right.
Thank you. You're right, Doug. So yeah, looking at
he's right about this too. He's right about this too, right here.
At the time, it was bad. In hindsight, it was like absolutely brutal. But I would still argue at the time there have definitely been worse trades in this league than that one. Not a good trade by any means, but I think at the time, not knowing what Saquon was going to do and not knowing what these two were going to do, it was a bad trade. Wasn't the worst trade.
Who's taking over that league now? Who owns it? Is it Derek?
Sorry?
Who owns that league now?
It's Jason's team.
Oh, it's Jason. My bad.
Now, what started this? To Jason's credit, he took over a team that had no hope of basically anything. He had some key players. Like, for some reason, this team always had, like, 3 good guys. Kelsey, Julio Jones, and at the time, Brandon Cooks. Those 3 were his entire team. Everyone else was basically useless. Jason managed to get some stuff for that and has kept going and snowballing into what is now a competitive team.
Yeah, look at his draft. Look at his draft. Like, plot to ground is Jason, who we're talking about right now.
Plenty of draft picks.
DeAndre Swift, Cam Akers, in the 2nd round, picking up who we got? Kenneth Murray, Yetur Gross-Matos. But outside of just draft picks, has made some really key moves. I've been very impressed what Jason has done with a unsavable team, basically, and has made his way into competition.
I just sent Jim the projections for that league, which we'll go into in more detail next week once they're a little better. But what's interesting about this is Jason took this brutal team, and now, despite the fact he doesn't want to compete, which irritates me to no end, because
that is weird. That is weird.
I can't respect people who have teams that are like within competition and are like, I'm still going to try to tank to get a better pick. That's complete bullshit. I don't expect you to mortgage your future. Don't trade your picks. Don't trade your young guys to win. That's fine. But don't try not to win so that you can get a better pick. That's Bush League. I have no respect for that. But
because
Jason,
he's in a position. He's in a position where he can do okay.
Position right now.
Yeah.
And so it's impressive. But what he's done so far in the other league, it's like he wanted to try to rebuild from scratch again.
I feel like Jason, in his mind, felt like he needed like 2 years to do it, and he almost was a victim of his own success. That he did it in less than 2 years, and now is like, well, I thought I needed 2 years, so that's what I'm gonna do. But ended up with a situation where he could probably do it within the year, but is still committed to being a rebuild team that could compete, which is a little bizarre.
It's interesting looking at the difference in projections for one league versus the other, because one, we're all really close, and then the other one, there's like 13-0, there's 2-11, like it's all over the place. But Jason's gonna compete.
Well, there it is with Jason. The latest Jason,
8-5.
8-5.
That is in position to compete with Ron Mexico for the wild card in that division or in that conference.
Can I say that Ron Mexico getting 8-5 is irritating beyond belief for a guy that does not pay any attention to this at all?
Yeah, he's never going to listen to this. No, we can badmouth David as much as we want.
God damn it, man. I pay attention to this. I like this. I'm into this. This fucking guy just fucking absorbed a team where, for those who don't know, had an owner who was super into this more than any of us. Was a bit of a dick that he was so into it. Blood, sweat, and tears went to this team, and he left. For presumably, based on what I heard on the chat, his wife just saying no more fantasy football.
I think we were just guessing. None of us know him personally. I don't know.
I believe that.
I'm not saying I disbelieve it, but it's not like we had any evidence of that.
Listen, I'm gonna turn my hat backwards to this. Listen, this guy left David with a team that was fucking. He worked on forever. It was a team that was ready to go, ready to get the playoffs. And David made the playoffs and would have made the fucking finals.
Not just made the playoffs, he would have won the league. If
he started who? Phil?
Raheem Mostert.
If he started Raheem Mostert, who was the fantasy darling of the waiver wire darling of the late season.
For the late season,
He did not start him in the final fucking frame.
No, let's give David some credit. I mean, he might have had someone useful to start instead.
Let's not give David some credit.
What do you mean? I mean, he might have started someone useful instead, Jam. So let's see who David started instead.
Let's see who started.
I'm gonna find out. You're gonna have to kill dead air while I figure out how to figure this out.
What I'm saying is, listen, I've been at this. You guys have been fantasy football guys for longer than I. Phil had to convince me to become a fantasy football guy, and I love it. It is not quite eclipsed basketball yet, but it's very close to my favorite sport there is, because fucking red zone football. There's nothing more exciting than red zone football. But I'm into this. I do my research. I'm fucking into this, and it's very annoying that a guy that absorbed a goddamn team that was fucking playoff ready is ready to go, and is getting into the playoffs, and literally was one start away from being the champion. But he was stupid about it.
Here's the thing. It has to, like, I love it. It's got to really weigh on him, too, because it's not just that he could have been champion. He could have had a lot of money. He could have had the trophy that I now have displayed in the office instead.
A gaudy, big trophy. It's so annoyingly big.
Instead of Raheem Mostert, starting in his lineup were Odin Tate, and Albert Wilson.
Albert Wilson was the
both of those two. I don't know which is the one you benched, but you benched one of them for.
He benched for Raheem Mostert.
But I looked at his lineup for the rest of it. He would have beaten everyone going forward. He would have won the whole league, but it.
But to be honest, wouldn't that have been more annoying?
To me, yes, I love
if David won the league.
I'm not annoyed by this at all. I love that he lost the league based on a terrible decision. That is the most poetic thing that could have happened when he inherited a good team. All he had to do was set reasonable lineups, and he could have been fine. And that didn't happen. So I love every aspect of that.
I look forward to David's second year in fantasy. I will say, I'm sure everyone else in this league has been in fantasy football longer than I have, but there's nothing like it. There's nothing as that locks you in as much, that forces you to do the research.
My fantasy baseball league is happening right now. I don't give a shit. I mean, I'm
always
happy.
like the shit, man. Like, football might this year might take over as my. And this is coming from a guy from Toronto that just won a goddamn championship and are in line to compete for another. I don't care what you say, but football might become my top sport, man. There's so much that rides on one game.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line. The Raptors lose a game, you're like, all right, let's get them next
time.
All right,
we'll win the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
We get 80 games. It's fine. 16 games?
Each game.
You lose 2 games in a row. I remember when I would start watching football regularly because I joined the league, and the Steelers lost 3 games in a row, and it was like, the Steelers are done. The Steelers are over because they lost 3. I'm like, 3 games? What? Are you serious? 3 games? That's fine. But
yeah, it's all there's a Thursday night game, Sunday night, Monday night, but everything is you get a day. It's like, fuck you, I'm not going anywhere. I'm watching football today. This is it. This is my Sunday for the fall. I'm watching football.
Red zone, baby. Red zone.
Sometimes I go on wine tours instead because, I outside of football, I'm probably the most feminine person you know.
He is.
But football. Anyway,
I just for everyone who's watching and everyone who is going to watch, I hope nothing happens to football, because baseball is an example of how to do this badly, and football is going to be in the same boat. Realistically,
this is my concern. There's so many people on a football team. This is going to go really badly.
Tailgates. I mean,
tailgates are gone. That's not happening. Let's just accept they're going to try to put fans in. That's going to stop. I'm worried about the actual games themselves. Eventually, they're going to just give up on fans. But
see, tailgates, I don't believe will stop. And whoever's watching, let me know your thoughts. But I don't believe that tailgates are going to stop, because that's such a big part of the culture of football. It's getting together in the backyard. Doesn't matter where you are. Just getting together somewhere, drinking a bunch of beers, barbecuing some hot dogs and some burgers, and just having a good time. That is part of football.
Jam, we can do that because our country has been relatively responsible through this.
Hey. Phil and I are going to have tailgates for every goddamn game. We're just gonna alternate between Phil's house and my house, and we're just gonna fucking get drunk watching
Here's better. We can barbecue at your house. I don't
We can
have
barbecue at my house. Oh yeah.
unless we want to go to the park with the hobos. There's not a lot of barbecuing we can do at my place.
Actually, Steven from the FOMFA League joined us for a Buffalo game. Who was it? Buffalo versus the Eagles. Eagles won, obviously. But we had a great time. Fucking, we used Steve's SUV
because he had a tailgate.
We rocked up the barbecue. We cooked up some hot dogs. We had a good time, man. Like there's nothing like a football tailgate.
Yeah, when all this COVID stuff is, I don't know if it's over, but dealt with.
No, Doug. No.
Dealt with, I guess, is a better term. I've met multiple people from the other league. One owner who unfortunately is no longer in the league, named John. I've met Luis before. We went to Top Golf. It was a lot of fun. I met Steven. I'm happy to meet you. I travel around a lot. If I'm coming to your city, I'll let you know. If you're coming up to Toronto, I'm sure Jam and I will be happy to show you around.
Yeah. You guys come to Toronto, we'll show you a good time.
But that said, you can't come to Toronto right now. We're not.
You cannot. Please stay away from Toronto right now.
We're not letting your diseased asses into our country.
We're trying to keep Toronto pretty COVID safe. Please stay out of Toronto.
You know how many cases Ontario currently has? Ontario, with a population of 13 million people, we have under 1,000 cases, active cases of COVID right now.
I'm so bummed out about it.
All right, so we've shat on Jason's team. Who else's team do we get to shit on here?
You want to see the rankings again?
Yeah.
There we go.
Wrong thing. Let's go to BWAFF. We're dealing with this.
Go to BWAFF? All right, let's go.
BWAFF, BWAFF, whatever.
So we got
San Diego is up next with their.
San Diego is not doing great. Hotheads. You know what? I will say, kudos on your logo.
Yeah, great logo.
Great logo. Not as good as mine, but great logo. But it's going to be rough. Your defense is taking a hit. Your coaches are taking a hit. Your running backs are taking a hit.
Coach is taking a hit. They have Sean Payton. What's the problem with the coach?
No, they're offensive and defensive coaches. B plus and C plus, but D minus and D plus.
Offensive is
A minus, fourth in the league. Head coach, fourth in the league. Not bad.
Yeah, but that makes sense. They don't have an offensive coordinator, and their defensive coordinator is the Cowboys. So,
but explain to people who don't know. Does your rankings take into account, like, assuming you will pick up a decent offensive coordinator or something like that?
It assumes you pick up a base level coordinator if you don't have one.
Okay.
So, like, I figured, like, somewhere around, like, 20th or so ranked in the league.
Right, okay.
So it's based on that right now. Quarterback, you got Dak Prescott. That's a good option. So I assume they're ranked well. I'm just looking at the roster, so I don't really know.
Is it a good option, though?
You know, at running back, you got Austin Eckler, who I think is undervalued by people, but $24 million, that's not undervaluing him anymore. Giving J.K. Dobbins $20.6 million is insane. Just absolutely insane. And I know that, yes, next year they move on from Ingram. There's a lot of running opportunity in Baltimore. But that's a lot of money to have him sit on your bench for a year, essentially. Although he may not, because who else do they have? Latavius Murray is the next best option.
Is this San Diego?
Yeah.
San Diego has J.K. Dobbins?
San Diego has J.K. Dobbins.
I gotta reload this page because right now I'm seeing. Sorry, you're right. Yeah, that is an insane amount.
Yeah.
He's got Austin Eckler at 24.1.
I love Eckler, but usually I love Eckler when he's getting value. Like, people seem to ignore him, let him slide for like the late second. In the late second, pick him up in your drafts. I think that's good value, but giving him $24 million.
Yeah, I would never have paid him maybe 20.
Like, I was bidding on him for a while, but I'm not giving him that much money.
I would have given him 18. I think I would give him 18.
Yeah, and even in this market, I'd probably go up to 2021. But like, I value him pretty comparably to Aaron Jones, frankly. But I really like Eckler a lot. On the receiver side, you got Godwin, you got Devontae Parker, you got Allen Robinson. You got 3 top options here. There's just no options. Hayden Hurst at tight end, no one behind him. There's a lot of hype around Hayden Hurst this year because the theory is, Austin Hooper did great in the Atlanta offense, so Hayden Hurst is going to do great in the Atlanta offense.
I believe that.
Who was the tight end before Austin Hooper did well in the Atlanta offense? It was Austin Hooper. Shut up with your goddamn facts. It was Austin Hooper who didn't do particularly well in the Atlanta offense. So there's no guarantee.
You shut your mouth. He's going to do great.
Whoever steps into this role is going to do great. But what it is, maybe he'll do great. But there's no defense on this team to really speak of. So I think that's where it's like, if it stays healthy between, Godwin, Parker, Robinson, Eckler, like, this is a good starting core that I'm actually scared of, especially because this team is my rival. And in week 3, it's probably still going to be healthy, and I am going to be in trouble. But long-term over the season, you need more depth than this, and I think that's really what's hurting them in the rankings.
So, I mean, we're at about 2 hours and 40 minutes of this podcast.
Let's finish the bad teams, I guess.
let's get the brass tacks.
Yeah,
that's what I like to hear. Who do you think is going to outperform? Who do you think is going to underperform in FOMFA and in BWAFF?
In terms of teams, or in terms of, and how are you defining outperform and underperform?
Well, I mean, like, if you're FOMFA, which is established, so the free agent market is a bit more realistic. Who in FOMFA is going to do best with what they've got going right now? And in BWAFF, since it's a goddamn free-for-all, who's going to be the top team? Who's going to be the worst teams?
The top team, I think, is going to be you if you don't manage to fuck it up.
Yeah! I'll fuck it up. Don't worry.
You're one of the few teams with a combination of very high-end starters, yet managing to have depth behind it. Most teams have either the high-end starters and no one to speak of behind them, or you have a team of 44 players, but it's like, like there's no one really all that exciting on it.
Yeah, but I'm at a risk of this.
There's no audio with this.
Yeah, but you can tell.
I know. In FOMFA, I think it's more like compared to the rankings, I guess.
Okay.
Who I think will do well.
All right.
And I need to go back and look at the rankings, I suppose, to figure out what's.
Let me pull up the FOMFA rankings.
You're gonna pull them up.
Ranking?
Yeah,
nope, that's not the FOMFA ranking. Where's the FOMFA rankings?
You have them. There they are.
Man,
I don't think Jayville will be 0-13.
Whoa! Turn down for Watt at 12-1. Let's talk about Khalil for a minute. Can you give a little bit of a background on what Khalil did with his team?
Yeah, so I'm also going to give myself a pat on the back for this, even though he probably would have done it anyway, but I'm going to just give myself credit regardless. Khalil had a team that was consistently like the 2000 Blue Jays for any sort of baseball fan, where it's like, yeah, you could probably finish about 500. You know, you have a lot of good assets, but you're not actually going to compete. And he had this team for a couple of years, and I was urging him, I'm like, dude, you could rebuild now, and because you have a ton of assets, you could get a shit ton of like picks and like just dominate going forward. And he did it. He probably would have done it without me telling him that. I just wanted to give myself a pat on the back, as I said. But I also give him like a ton of credit for successfully doing it. Like he could have fucked up the whole thing.
I was one of the guys. I got AJ Green out of that.
Yeah, but now you look at his team, and I am genuinely scared about it. The last few years, even the year that I didn't necessarily win, I think I just got sort of boned in like just a bad loss in the playoffs. But I was like, my team is the best team in the league. I'm not worried. I wasn't worried last year. This year, I'm worried about Khalil. I'm genuinely worried about his team. It looks really good. And can we pull up his team?
I'm gonna try and do it right now.
All right. I'm gonna get to his team at least so I can talk about it.
So I mean, leading off at quarterback, he's got Deshaun Watson, backed up by Ryan Tannehill. So it's already a pretty good start. Let me try and pull up his team here, so everyone on the broadcast can see.
Well, he's doing that. His running backs are some of the best in the league. Unfortunately for him, they all have the same bye week. So
holy shit, they do, eh?
Yeah, whoever's playing him in week 10 gets a free win. But
Eckler and Davis, Ezekiel Elliott are both bye weeks at 10,
so
including CH. Holy shit!
Yeah, he has 3 amazing running backs in Zeke, Austin Eckler, and Edwards-Helaire. They all have bye weeks in week 10, though, which is unfortunate for him. You also have the Patriots situation, for lack of a better term, where he has both Sony Michel and Damian Harris. So if one of them take over, you can get someone there. Worst case scenario for him is they just do random bullshit like the Patriots tend to do. But still, solid the fact that he has 3 definite starters and then a tandem who you might get a starter out of. Oh, and I forgot to mention Melvin Gordon,
Yeah.
4th best running back and should start for most teams. He's not going to start for Khalil.
That's insane.
You move on to receivers. It's not as good as running back. But you got DeAndre Hopkins. You got DJ Moore. Those are 2 elite options there. And then there's a giant cliff, and there's a bunch of nobodies, really. But
N'Keal Harry could make a jump.
He could, but let's not give him credit before he does anything.
Yeah, but the rest of them, yeah.
The ADP of all these guys beyond Hopkins and Moore is 1/50th or later. The receivers are not looking sharp. However, Khalil, he only has $6 million. I was going to say he could sign receivers because there are a lot available this offseason, but no, he can't sign receivers. Best thing he could do actually would be to trade Melvin Gordon so that his $25 million is off the books and he could sign one of these receivers, but, whatever. Zach Ertz at tight end, backed up by Mike Gesicki. We don't have a special teams in BWAFF, but in FOMFA, we not only have kickers, but we have punters and kick returners. Jakeem Grant, one of the best kick returners in the league. Greg Zerloin, one of the best kickers in the league. And Mitch Wishnowski, I don't know, he's a punter. He'll kick the ball. It's fine.
If you had to make a prediction right now, FOMFA.
Yeah.
Who is the 2 teams vying for a championship?
Me and Khalil.
It's not Khalil.
Finals. We will have
How surprising for the commissioner to say he's going to be vying for the championship.
You disagree? Do we need to go over my team? I don't want to spend the time going over my team.
I'll pull your team up if you want to talk your shit. If you want to talk your trash.
I don't want to even talk about it. I want you to try to disparage my team.
All right, I'm going to do it right now.
Tell me how my team is not going to be in the playoffs and battling for the championship.
Your team is bullshit.
Coming off a championship.
Listen. You're talking a big game. But I mean, are you really that good?
Yes. Yes.
The thing that's bothering me right now is I can't screen scrab. Wow, I'm drunk. I'm sorry, guys. I can't screen grab your entire team. I can only screen grab a portion of it.
All right, well, let's start with the running backs because
it's pretty bullshit. Your running backs are the worst I've ever seen.
They're not great. They're not great. They could use an upgrade, I suppose.
All right, let me talk about them because these guys in the Ben Wyatt League don't know yet. Phil has not even paid attention to his running backs. He got this guy named Saquon Barkley for $50 million. He spent so much money on this.
$5 million. You've added a zero. He's making $5 million.
Listen, $5 million? What a fucking bum! Like he's played for the New York Giants. Does anyone believe in the Giants? Does anyone believe in the Giants?
Fair point.
Exactly. Dalvin Cook, Mr. My Knee Hurts. Fucking bullshit.
Yep.
Alexander Madison, I'll give it up. Madison is a legend. He has put people on notice on many an occasion, so I'll give it up to Madison. Alvin Kamara, what a weird name.
That's the best you've got.
Nose ring, I mean, I don't believe in him. Jonathan Taylor, who knows? He's a bum.
True. But at least
your team is good, man. I'm really bummed out by looking at this.
At least my wide receivers aren't very good, though. You know, there's no depth there at all.
I'm just gonna take this off the field because it's fucking irritating. Because your fucking wide receivers, fuck you, man. Darren McLaurin, you paying him $650 million. That is fucking bullshit.
To be clear, I don't have any elite wide receivers.
Christian Kirk replaces Justin Jefferson.
I have a ton of great wide
receivers. Kenny
Kenny
Galladay remains WR1. Calvin Ridley is on his way to a fucking huge year. Traquan Smith is garbage.
Yeah, don't worry about the last two.
Kenny Stills is garbage.
The last two are meaningless.
Fuck you, man. This is irritating.
Yeah, so...
Can we see your Ben Wyatt league?
No, you can't bring that up now. That's not nearly as impressive. But you ask who's going to compete. The finals will only be the technical finals. The real finals will be the semifinals between
Khalil and you?
But that's the semifinals. If you're wondering who goes into the finals, because Khalil and I are in the same conference, but if you're asking what the best matchup is, that'll be
me and you.
It's not. I'm rooting for you, man, but. Right, as of now, I would have to say Doug and I would be the finals.
Fucking Doug. Yeah, I don't like it. It. Doug, this is after Google this because you're American and you know what this is. After all of this, I'm not happy. I got to beat your team. But you happen to be in a division where people are just giving up. Just fucking giving up on the shit. Who's in Doug's fucking conference?
Conference? You.
No, in his division.
Division.
Guaranteed playoff spot is what I mean. Fuck you. God damn it.
You know, Sandwich and Chris Perkins' team.
See, this is the thing is, I'm always competing against Sandwich because Sandwich is always fucking putting big name guys up.
Sandwich has really revamped the team. Year after year, he did what he did in BWAFF, where he's like, you know what, I'll go out and get Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley, and I don't need a rest of my team. This is how he built his team in FOMFA, too. For years, he committed the vast majority of payroll to his running backs, and it was moderately successful. He was always fringe playoffs. He might make the playoffs some years, he might not the other years. But he was never a dominant team. It was always just a competitive team. Yeah. So it's not that the strategy doesn't work. It's just it never was good enough to take him to the championship.
Well, this is the team that he went to the playoffs with last year was this.
Are you showing this year's team or last year's? Because this looks like
the team as it stands. Sorry. This is the team as it stands.
He had Zeke and stuff last year. He had a ton of good running backs last year. He had
his team as it stands.
And now his running backs are a weakness. They're not a strength. This is the first time ever I've seen Chris's team like this.
They're gonna win. This is the year I'm gonna beat him. What the fuck, right? Come on.
I mean, maybe. Do you want to show your team to the people in the other league?
You know what? Everyone on be ready to be dazzled because I got a hell of a team. My team is ready to go.
Jam's team has a lot of hope. It doesn't project well because it has a whole lot of players coming off of bad seasons.
Shut up.
but players who are like, yeah, you know what? There's a reason to believe this guy might do well.
I believe. God damn it. Where's this team? God damn it. I can't find them. All right. Let me share this with the league right now. Because you guys are gonna fucking lose your shit.
We're just killing the last 5 minutes. I refuse to let a podcast go over 3 hours, so we're just killing.
All right, last 5 minutes. We're gonna look at. You can look at my team, and you guys are gonna be goddamn impressed.
And then we'll take questions from the one person who I doubt is even still watching. It's probably just
there. You go. Russell Wilson starting. Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette. Everyone's shitting on Leonard Fournette, but he's gonna get points. Got Tyler Boyd. Got DeAndre Hopkins. Sorry, Brandon Cooks. T.Y. Hilton. Don't worry about the fourth. I have not signed a tight end yet, so don't worry about that right now. I'm signing a good one. My team is legit, man. My team is legit. All right, Phil.
Open on a cookie here.
Let's see what you think.
You know what I think? I told you what I think. It's a team that if the players get back up to their potential, if Brandon Cooks,
yes, sir,
even is a shadow of like what Hopkins did in that offense, you're great. If T.Y. Hilton comes back and is like back to what he could be, you're fine. You just have a lot of question marks. So the projections have a lot of like low end things coming in because of those question marks. But it wouldn't surprise me if you did well. It also wouldn't surprise me if you did very poorly.
If I do very poorly, this is all hands on deck. Sail at fucking Blitzkrieg Bop. I am fucking.
You tried to do that before, and then people were ridiculous and wouldn't offer you anything for anyone of value. So you're like, fuck it. Like I give up on my.
It's fucking people like it's fucking Kamara. Give me some goddamn value for Kamara.
Showed my team. I offered up running backs, and everyone's like, "Yeah, maybe I'll give you like a second round pick for."
like I took the best offer for Kamara, and everyone in the league was pissed about it because fucking offer up more. That is fucking ridiculous. I'm not going to trade Kamara for Kerryon Johnson. I'm sorry.
Everyone will offer you garbage, and they get annoyed when you take something that's like, this is lower than I would have given. It's like, well, then why didn't you give more?
Just give it to me. I'm open for deals. Like, if I don't, I'm going to put the league on notice right now. 4 minutes in, because we're going to stop this at 3 hours. This is ridiculous. If you got a offer for me, make it right now. I will fucking consider it.
But I would say you should probably make it serious because the problem in the past with Kamara, for instance, the idea of where, like we were talking about this earlier, when people come at you with like garbage offers and expect you to counter, you're just going to ignore it and then just go for the person who's serious about an offer instead.
Well, I mean, that brings up a good point.
I'm amazed anyone's still paying attention to this. Like, I thought it was literally just me talking to you at this point.
Doug is my man. Doug is paying attention. But I mean, he's right though.
No, that makes a lot of sense. If no one else is really going for it, then like in any one game, it doesn't matter how good a team is. You have a chance. Like obviously, like I'm not even going to pretend my team is. It's very strong at the moment. But there was 1 week last year against, I think it was week 12 against Luis. I scored like 120 points or something. Everyone on my team just decided, you know what? Not this week. I'm gonna relax.
It's fantasy football, man.
I'm taking it off this week.
Guys can just fuck off for a week.
Yeah. So if no one else is gonna try to compete, you might as well and be like, yeah, I'm probably not the favorite, but I might have a 20 to 30% chance of taking a huge amount of money in this trophy. Like,
yeah. See, Doug is the one team that I dislike the most because he's gonna win that division. He's not even going to be in the wild card. He's not even my competition. I just don't. He's just a nice guy, so I can't be mad at him.
So then why do you dislike him the most if you've accepted he's not your
competition? I wish I could be mad at him. I wish I could be mad at him. He's just a nice dude who's just winning. He's a Birds fan.
Yeah, that's true. All right,
How can
Doug,
you be mad at a
not
guy?
paying attention anymore. We have 1 minute left. Give us some question that you want us to answer.
For me?
No, for either of us. Just I'm asking Doug to give us some sort of
one
question.
question, 1 minute left.
We're gonna finish the podcast on Doug's question here.
I feel like Doug is stuck on this comment right now. That's about it for him. But I will say, while I'm still waiting for Doug's question, I am really rooting for the Birds this year. I'm a new Eagles fan. I'm a new Eagles fan. Shirt in, hat in. I am trying my goddamn best. Wait, give me something.
It's a long shot. Don't be surprised if they end up going like 7-9. I hope they do well, but the Eagles have done well off recent seasons based on Carson Wentz and coaching.
Carson Wentz, I got him.
And their defense. But like, there's too many question marks there. Like, they really need a lot of luck to be able to do something else.
Well, this is what Doug said.
Yeah, well, that's not a question.
Well, here's a question if you want one.
Okay. Trade me Saquon. You know, Doug, yours is actually one of the only teams that if you wanted Saquon, you might be able to actually get him.
Make it happen. Make it happen, baby.
You know, feel free to submit an offer. But
Phil is fucking just, he's got too many running backs.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'd have to include a lot of picks and Chubb. I don't know what would make sense. But you have the talent and future picks to be able to do it. So if you want Saquon, you know, submit me an offer.
But outside of that, I will say, fucking first podcast of the new season. I think it went well. I love you guys. I am very drunk. I hope everyone tunes in for the future ones because apparently I'm going to be drinking all of them.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't make them 3 hours.
Yeah. The timing will vary, but fucking, you know what? Football, man. We're back. We're ready to play. We're ready to get some teams. We're ready to get some stats. Phil and I will try to do some team previews. This is a lot of goddamn teams right now. I'm down. I'll do it.
Remember that BWAFF, the plan there, and we need to reiterate this, is that everyone's rival submits a preview of their team from a negative perspective. And then, you know,
I look forward to it, Chris Back. I look forward to it, motherfucker.
If
Throw me your fucking review.
If they can record an audio of it, and then you could use your editing skills to, you know,
oh, I would love to.
And stuff. Especially if you can show clips of players fucking up.
It would give me so much joy. Throw me your goddamn clips.
Why do you throw Doug's trade me Saquon?
I slipped. I just dropped my head on the mouse.
All right. Well, it's 11:05
Bring
Eastern.
it.
Mark has gone to bed hours ago, as it's 4:00 in his time zone. So,
all right, boys. I'm gonna put this up on the site. I'm gonna make you all aware of when the podcast went live. Feel free to read on it. Feel free to listen to it. Send us your comments. We're going to go live again in about a week? 2 weeks, Phil? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't do anything. Like whatever. Whatever you're free,
not committing to a time frame. But you guys will know. We're going to podcast up. We're going to have a good time. Good luck to everyone in the league. We're getting into the new season. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. All right, everyone. You know, we'll keep chatting in the chat, and I'll see you all later.
Love you guys. See you guys later. And the broadcast.